Khan walked inside the Adventurer Association Hall to register as an adventurer. Why did he choose this profession? Because it was his current best choice. Mainly, it will allow him to enter regions such as forests and dungeons where he could hunt for monsters and increase his strength by absorbing their skills and eating their cores. Also, no one would be asking questions about what he was doing in such places if he was a registered adventurer and had an ID with him. And this was also a quick way to make money on the side, as working as a bodyguard like Elenev had suggested would restrict Khan in many ways. Plus his income would be limited and there would be times he'd have to be escorting people or acting as security, which would be a total waste of Khan's time. Even though the Flavit City was the best place for Khan to build his strength, he won't be staying here long and would eventually leave for bigger cities and places where he could gain more power and authority. This city was going to be his first step in his journey. Coming back to reality, Khan noticed that many people sitting in the hall were looking at him with surprised gazes, as if he had something they desperately wanted. Khan paid no attention to the greedy gazes and walked towards the receptionist counter. Exactly towards the same counter he went to the previous day to sell the cores. As the old man watched Khan coming towards him, he instantly recognized the young man and adjusted his glasses. But then he was startled after noticing Khan's attire. What the? Did he rob a bank or something? Old receptionist asked himself. What are you doing here again? Didn't I tell you to hide somewhere for a few days? Those people from the Groundhog Adventure team might be still looking for you, said the old man in a worried tone. If they want trouble, I'll give them one. Besides, I'm not the type to hide in fear from anyone, Khan said as he rested his right arm on the counter, leaning towards the old man. Anyway, I'm here for my adventurer's license. You mentioned I have to take some kind of test, right? Asked Khan as he remembered yesterday's conversation vividly. Ah, young people, always thinking too highly of themselves. The old man sighed as he took out some documents and gave them to Khan. Fill these up and deposit 20 silver dramas for the test, said the old man as he passed on the documents. Understood, said Khan and went to a vacant table to fill in his information. He wrote made-up details which were essential for approval and returned to the counter. By the way, what's your name, old man? Asked Khan. It's Malcolm, and stop calling me old man, or you'll never get your registration done, said the old receptionist with wrinkles on his forehead, as if he hated being called an old man. Okay, I got it. So what kind of assessment do I have to go through? Asked Khan curiously. Nothing much. You just have to fight and last for some time against one of our instructors. They will also decide whether you are qualified enough to do work as an adventurer like hunting in the forests or dungeons and even work as a bodyguard for commission, explained Malcolm. I'm ready when you are, replied Khan in a carefree manner. Follow me, said Malcolm and took Khan to the inner side of the hall, and then they entered towards a small training grounds within the association building. Khan saw more than a dozen of people doing weapon practice and magic chanting practices under the instructions of people wearing the association uniform. These were obviously the instructors. As they neared towards an open arena made specifically for combat practice, Khan saw many people queued up in a line. Where's Alvin? Malcolm asked the nearby instructor. He called in sick today, saying he won't be able to come to work for a few days, replied the nearby instructor. Sick my ass. He's probably still in a brothel and drinking even more booze to get over his hangover. That bastard is never reliable, shouted Malcolm. Just then, a solemn voice came from behind where they were standing. Since Alvin is out, what if I do the testing today? Said an old man who had completely long white hair and a short beard. He appeared to be in his 50s. Arkham. You? Never mind, just go easy on the kids, said Malcolm as he shrugged his hands helplessly. The other people around Khan, who also came for the assessment, started cursing under their breath. Khan, who had extremely accurate hearing even for a long range thanks to one of the abilities he absorbed from a bat-like monster, clearly heard everything they said. We're so screwed. This guy never holds back in a test. We had chances to pass in front of Alvin, but Arkham never approves of anyone, said one of the men. Who's he exactly? Khan intervened in their conversation. Don't you know? That's Arkham Holland, the A-rank adventurer who is also a Grandmaster rank magic swordsman. He's one of the 3 strongest adventurers in the entire city. To get him as the instructor for our assessment is like hitting a stone wall with a pebble. Only God knows if we'll be able to pass this time," replied the man as his back arched like an elderly man. To this revelation, Khan felt very different compared to the others. Because unlike them who were worried about failing the test, Khan's eyes were full of joy and expectations. Because he would get a chance to fight a Grandmaster-level swordsman which will help him improve his weapon mastery. Khan understood just from what the other guy told him that Grandmaster rank swordsmen were very rare even for a city as big as Flavit City that was no smaller than big metro cities from his previous world. So naturally, this encounter would be a very rare chance to learn from an expert. Khan queued up in line as Arkham took a wooden sword from the weapon stand and started the tests. Khan was standing last in the queue and tried to get a good look at the combat test. The old man Arkham held the wooden sword with a benign smile on his face, looking like a completely harmless elderly person who would even struggle to cross the street. But just as soon as he started, Khan's eyes widened with surprise and his survival instinct started alarming inside his head. Unlike the other people standing in the line, Khan could feel the aura coming out of Arkham. This gave a sense of dread to Khan as he understood that the man in front of him was no joke. Just the aura he gave was more than enough to suppress Khan on the spot, who was at the end of the queue. Arkham, who was waiting for the first examinee to attack him, suddenly squinted his eyes and looked at Khan without making it obvious to notice. He could feel Khan trying to gauge his strength. As soon as the first examinee charged at Arkham holding his giant axe and swung it with full force, the old man simply took a step back and avoided with a hair's breadth. Shock. Khan was completely shocked. To someone without keen senses, this looked like Arkham barely managed to survive the attack and luckily dodged it. But to Khan, who had his reflexes and senses reached to a level beyond normal people, everything was as clear as water. Arkham didn't move to dodge at all. Rather, he was allowing the giant axe to pass close to him. It wasn't that his reflexes were weak. Rather, he was holding back his original speed to make it look like the attacker barely missed the old man. Khan kept staring at Arkham with an ogling gaze. This man was a true expert. In the next second, the examinee swung his axe at Arkham's head, trying to land a fatal hit. Just as the axe came close to Arkham's face, he quickly flicked his wooden sword and the entire direction of the swinging axe was changed in just a second. The axe landed on the ground with full force, the wielder also losing his balance and stumbling on the ground. Just as he tried to lift the axe again and move to attack, the wooden sword already landed a hit on his neck. "Fail," said Arkham with solemn eyes. The examinee hung his neck in embarrassment and left the training ground. "Next!" shouted Arkham, and the test continued. And just as Khan had expected, not a single one of these examinees managed to last in the test for a minute, let alone land a hit on Arkham. Let it be a close combat class or a long-range attack class like Mages va Archer, none even came close to make Arkham move more than 10 steps before he took them out effortlessly. Finally, Khan's turn came and he entered the training ground. He didn't stand on a ceremony and took out his new long sword, which was no shorter than 5 feet or maybe even longer. He held it tightly in both his palms, settled his footing, pulled the sword hilt close to his chest and pointed the sword tip at Arkham as he took a defensive stance. Khan looked at the old man with determined eyes and said, "After you." Khan looked at the old man Arkham, focusing his sight on any slight movements the old man might make. His survival instinct alert then he activated his hunter's intent. Khan knew that no matter how accurate his perception or survival instinct blessing was, if he didn't have enough reaction speed or strength to defend himself against a truly strong enemy, his life would be forfeited right on the spot. "You have some good senses, kid. Now let me see if you actually know how to fight," said Arkham as he took his first step towards Khan. Whoosh! Arkham's image flickered the next second and Khan sensed an impending doom coming towards him. Clang! Just as the Arkham was about to hit Khan, the young man quickly used the sword to block his left-hand side and finally, Arkham's figure appeared in front of him. Author: consider his sword similar to the one in the cover art of the novel, with a black hilt and guard. The surrounding people gasped with surprise. Even the other instructors were amazed, because until now, Arkham never used his speed to attack any of the examinees. He only parried and dodged them before landing a fatal hit with his wooden sword. But now he was taking the approach of the attacker against the young man. And to add more surprise to this, the young man actually blocked the strike that everyone standing there failed to see. "Nice sword," said Arkham, and he swung his wooden sword again. Khan was barely adjusting to the Grandmaster rank swordsman's extremely quick speed and attacks. Each strike looked very simple, but only Khan knew that Arkham was trying to either land a fatal blow or disarm him. Not a single movement from the old man was wasteful, and as Khan kept defending against these flawless strikes that followed a form of rhythm to them, leading his hand movements when he was defending against the strikes, Khan realized that he was being too overconfident of himself when he asked the old man to attack him first. "Is defending all you can do?" asked Arkham with contemptuous eyes, as if he was disappointed with Khan's skills. Ding. Host has improved the weapon mastery for swords. Current progress, 35% at master rank. The host has unlocked the combat technique's defensive stance. Current progress, 15% at master rank. The system notification rang in his head, but Khan didn't lose his attention and kept focusing on the enemy in front. "The rules said I'd still win if I lasted for a while against the instructors. Don't try to goad me into attacking and give you an opening, old man," said Khan as he firmed his defensive stance and kept focusing on Arkham's movements. "If you think stalling for time will help you, then you're wrong. Let me show you the difference between our skills," said Arkham, and finally released his aura to the full extent. Boom! The nearby surrounding and everyone present felt an unimaginable pressure, as if a mountain was thrown on their shoulders as soon as Arkham revealed his killing intent. Some of the other examinees fainted right on the spot while others slouched under this aura. Khan, who was the original target of this domineering aura and killing intent, was actually facing the pressure 3 times more than what others felt. His body having no strength to even move a muscle or even look the other way. Khan felt like he was nothing but a prey in front of a predator beast. A prey that didn't even have the right to fight back. Khan could feel his bones clattering under this pressure and his veins popping out. The old man, with a benign smile on his face, was a true powerhouse. War dominance. Khan activated his war dominance blessing and felt the pressure on him disappearing. Arkham, on the other hand, had a riddled expression on his face. He only felt some sort of slight aura from Khan before, but now, however, not only his aura was waning in front of the young man, but he too also sensed a form of threat from the young swordsman. "Interesting. Very interesting," said Arkham as contained his aura inside him. Arkham again started attacking Khan from various angles, pushing him backward with every hit. However, Khan also tried his best to defend and maintain his footing against the heavy and quick attacks. His new sword possessing extreme durability and very easy to move with his current strength. Even though he was barely holding his end against Arkham's swift attacks, Khan had a joyful expression on his face, because with every strike he was defending against, his weapon mastery and combat techniques mastery was increasing by a lot as he was fighting against a true expert. Arkham, who noticed this smile on Khan's face, felt irritated as the new guy in front of him was successfully defending against a skilled veteran like him. "I'll give you a chance to attack me. I will only defend. How about it?" asked Arkham in a playful tone. "No lies, right? Because unlike me, you have a reputation to protect here," said Khan as he gave a light smirk. "System, show me the current progress." Khan commanded the system. Host has improved the weapon mastery for swords. Current progress, 49% at master rank. Defensive stance combat techniques. Current progress, 40% at master rank. Khan heard the updates and decided to go along with Arkham's proposal. Because he won't be able to improve his weapon mastery via combat techniques mastery by defending alone. He had to attack as well to improve his skills. Otherwise, he'd be just swinging a sword like an idiot in a real battle. He had to use this opportunity to learn some true sword skills. "I'm coming!" shouted Khan and charged at Arkham. He quickly swung his long sword vertically, trying to land a lethal hit at the old man. Tang! The sound of metal and stone banging resounded in the training grounds. By now, over 100 or more people who were either practicing or giving their tests in the adjacent training grounds were immersed in looking at Khan and Arkham's fight. The newbie managing to last for so long against the famous Arkham, one of the strongest adventurers in the entire city, was a miracle to them. There was a huge crack in the floor where Khan's sword just landed. Arkham had parried Khan's brute attack in the last second effortlessly. During the attack, Khan noticed that even though Arkham was using a wooden sword, there was a layer of protective aura or some kind of barrier that was covering the sword, and the source of it was none other than Arkham. Is this what they call a magic swordsman? Khan asked himself, because no way his sword wouldn't be able to break open a wooden sword with a single hit. Not only was made of extremely good quality materials, but it was also very sharp and heavy at the same time. So Arkham using some sort of skill or magic that was enforcing the wooden sword was the only explanation he could think of. Khan didn't stop there. He adjusted his footing to not leave an opening and twisted his body in a circular motion, using the momentum of his body to pull the sword out of the ground and making a horizontal slash at the old man. To this, Arkham only sidestepped and parried the attack again with a flick of his wrist. Khan started using his side-hopper ability to dash and attack the old man from time to time, even forcing the old man to take a few steps back with his heavy yet quick attacks. He aimed for Arkham's vital points as he kept running and attacking the old man from different angles again and again. The Khan who was barely managing to hold against Arkham till now was suddenly pushing the old veteran from one side of the training ground to another, his attacks becoming more deadly and precise with time. The audience watching this battle, however, was completely silent, many not believing their eyes and some dismissing what they were seeing in front of them. The well-renounced and greatly experienced veteran adventurer was being pushed back by a newcomer, even though it was only a test and Arkham was allowing the new guy to attack him. Actually landing a hit on the old man and even pushing him few steps back was something none of them had ever heard of in all their time in the Adventurer Association. Arkham, who was at the receiving end, was far more active this time. He was no longer just flicking his wrists and parrying the attacks, rather using both of his hands and taking a proper defensive stance while defending against Khan's brutal yet very quick attacks. To his surprise, the young man in front of him was getting better and better as time was passing. His movements were no longer that of an amateur but a skilled swordsman. He completely got rid of all the unnecessary movements and force behind his attacks, and his hand coordination while swinging the long sword was improving as the fight went on. When Arkham came out of his daze, he finally noticed a bright smile on Khan's face as he kept defending. This guy was enjoying the fight? Arkham was caught surprised. Unbeknownst to all the bewildered gazes, Khan was becoming more joyful as he heard the system notifications in his head. Host has improved the weapon mastery for swords. Current progress, 67% at master rank. The host has unlocked the following combat techniques: pincer, stab, horizontal slash, vertical slash, streak. Arkham was simply stunned. He had seen many talented people when it came to swordsmanship, but never before had he seen someone like Khan who made so many drastic improvements just in a single match. It was as if the experience he was getting from their bout was unlocking some type of hidden talent inside the young man. Genius. He found a true genius. Stop! Arkham spoke with a slight smile and an approving expression on his face. You pass, said the old man. The crowd was gobsmacked after the announcement. This newcomer passed a test conducted by the legendary Arkham himself? Were their eyes deceiving them? Khan stopped his attacks and put the heavy longsword on his back. He clasped both his fists together and made a slight bow towards the old man Arkham like people did in Chinese martial arts novels and said, "Thank you for your guidance." As soon as the test ended, the crowd gathered around the training ground roared in cheers. Everyone present there screamed their lungs out as Khan had finally broken the record by passing Arkham's assessment test, which didn't happen in the past 10 years. "Congratulations on passing your test, kid," said Malcolm, who came back a while ago after hearing the commotion. He had never imagined Khan being able to fight against Arkham for so long and already thought that there would be no one passing today. Khan gave a gentle smile and nodded in response. Then he glanced at Arkham and said, "It's because he wasn't even using half of his strength. If this was a real-life battle, I would have died in the first few seconds. Arkham smiled after hearing Khan's words. The young man wasn't a fool who'd let a little victory go inside his head. Still, I didn't hold back with my attacks and speed in the end. Even though I didn't even use half of my original strength. You being able to withstand it with your current level of strength and skills is indeed worthy of praise," said Arkham as he was very impressed with Khan's demeanor and the way he addressed the matters of the bout with nothing but the truth than boasting about himself shamelessly. "Of all the young swordsmen I've assessed till now, only you seem to have the ability to grasp the situation during the battle and quickly adapt your attacking strategy accordingly. That's very commendable. Tell me, boy, have you received any formal training before? Who was your teacher?" asked Arkham with curiosity. "My uncle Vasemir taught me some sword fighting skills since I was young, saying that we mercenaries must have enough skills va strength to protect others and ourselves," said Khan as he praised his non-existent uncle. "Why the name Vasemir?" "Because anyone who knew about Witcher franchise knew about Mentor of the legendary Geralt of Rivia. Vasemir was the one who taught him everything he knew, so Khan found it reasonable to use that name and create a fake character for his fake background. Then it explains a lot. He must be a very experienced fighter," said Arkham as realization struck him. This explained why Khan had such a solid foundation and talent for the sword, as he received training from a skilled fighter since his childhood. Suddenly, Malcolm, who was standing on the side, spoke. "Arkham, remember what happened with Marcus and his Diamond Adventure team? It was him who showed up when they were close to losing their lives. He alone killed 8 of those bandits one by one, secretly and strategically. Marcus said if not for this young man, all of them would have lost their lives, including Sandra. So it was you. Thank you. You did me a huge favor. I'm glad to finally meet the man who saved my niece's life," Arkham said as he ruggedly shook Khan's hands. "Who's Sandra?" asked Khan as he scratched the back of his head. Malcolm replied quickly. "The mage girl who survived the ambush thanks to you." Khan, who had the eidetic memory, quickly remembered the young mage girl who was fighting against the bandits that day. She was really good at long-range spells and aiding her allies during the fight. "I see. Well, those bastards killed my clan members and my friends when we were out on a bodyguard mission. Just like Marcus and his team, we too were ambushed and only I managed to survive. I was simply taking my revenge when I finally found them again," Khan said as he clenched his fist tightly. His face was full of sadness and regret. This took both Arkham va Malcolm by surprise. They didn't know anything about Khan's past till now at all. Only that he saved the Diamond Adventurer team few days ago. This made them feel empathetic towards the young man. "Well, it still makes no difference. Even though you did it inadvertently, you still saved our people. If you need anything in the future, feel free to ask me," said Arkham as he patted Khan's shoulder. He now started liking this boy even more after knowing about his background and how he saved his only niece's life a few days back. The crowd around them had dispersed at this point and everyone went on their ways, their blood pumped after watching the enthralling fight. Many grabbing their weapons and practicing with vigor. After leaving the training grounds and waiting for some time, Malcolm bought Khan's newly made ID card. Arkham had left already to report something to the management. Apparently, Arkham was actually the vice president of the Adventurer Association in Flavit City. Just as things were going nice for Khan after a long time, a group of more than 30 people entered the association hall. Their loud thuds of footsteps and weapons clanging against each other brought the attention of every single person present in the hall. The group of people looked extremely proud, domineering, and their hostile gazes landing towards the crowd as if they were looking for someone. This group of 30-plus adventurers consisted of many humans, some elves, half a dozen females, and few demi-humans. But unlike the majority of the adventurers Khan had seen till now, all the members of this group had very decent equipment, their attire matching to each other, and all of them had the same logo on their clothes, the Groundhog Adventurer Team. Finally, someone from the new group pointed his finger towards Khan, who was talking with Malcolm before. "That's him. That's the guy who beat young Master yesterday," said a thief-class adventurer. The group of people parted and created a path towards Khan's direction. A giant man who was nearly 7 feet tall, had a muscular build with a long and braided yellow beard, walked out of the group. His aura and demeanor were that of a tyrant exuding out with his every step. Khan looked towards the towering figure coming towards him. The man had a giant battle-axe on his back, full in brown armor and woolen fur on his armor here and there. Khan was instantly reminded of Vikings from his knowledge on Earth. The hostile man stared at Khan as he stood like a mighty warrior, ready to pounce at him any moment. "Was it you who killed my little brother and my men?" said the man in his deep voice, his tone filled with rage but trying to hold his anger back. "And who's your brother?" asked nonchalantly. "Don't act like a fool. You had a fight with him yesterday in this very place," said the man. Gasp! People present in the hall gasped as they heard something they never thought was possible. The young Master Ilya of the Groundhog Adventurer team was killed? How's that possible? The blonde guy was infamous for bullying others and acting like he owned the world. All that because he had the backing of his almighty brother who held a lot of power in the adventurer community, and even the city administration had a lot of people who owed him favors. "Oh, that pretty guy? I didn't see him since yesterday. Thought that he brought you to beat me for yesterday's incident." Khan feigned ignorance, but he didn't avoid any eye contact. "Besides, was he really your brother? You two don't look remotely related to each other," said Khan. "Impudence! Answer only what I ask you. Was it you who killed my brother?" shouted the huge man. He released his extremely violent aura and the pressure akin to what Khan felt during his fight with Arkham. He quickly activated his war dominance and replied in a stern tone. "I don't know anything. I don't have anything to do with your brother's death. You're looking for the wrong guy," said Khan as he faced the man without fear in his eyes. Of course, the man in front of Khan was many times stronger than the current Khan. If they were to fight seriously, Khan would definitely die without being able to fight at all. But that didn't mean he would cower in fear just because the enemy in front was stronger. One day he was going to fight the demon god. Compared to that godly being, whatever he was facing now would not even be comparable to ants. "Come with me to City Law Hall. We will decide whether you're lying or telling the truth," said the giant man. "Do you have any proof that it was me? If you don't, then stop wasting my time," said Khan in an annoyed tone. This flamed the anger of the man even more as he fully released his killing intent, and a yellow aura enshrouded his entire body. "Come with me willingly or there will be consequences. If I wanted to, I could kill you right here on the spot and nobody here will be able to do anything," said the giant man angrily. Suddenly, a stern voice resounded in the hall from the stairs coming down in the hall. "Oh really? I'd like to see how you do that, Stragaber." A slim-looking middle-aged elf, covered in extremely high-quality and well-designed mage robes, walked down the stairs as he intervened in the confrontation. And behind the elf stood Arkham. Malcolm, who was standing beside Khan at this moment, shouted in surprise, "President!" The hall was completely silent as soon as an overbearing and majestic voice of the president of Adventurer Association echoed inside the hall. Suddenly, half of the people present in the hall bowed in respect towards the mage who was descending from the stairs. "Solomon, my brother Va-men were killed yesterday. We just found their bodies this morning outside of West City gates. I need to find the murderer and this man is a suspect," shouted Stragaber. The giant man was the leader of the Groundhog Adventurer team. "That's President Solomon for you," said Arkham, who standing right behind the mage, as he did not like Stragaber addressing the middle-aged elf without honorifics. President Solomon raised his hand and stopped Arkham midway as he gazed at Khan and then Stragaber. "That's your personal matter, but it gives you no right to cause a commotion here. Besides, do you really think you can do whatever you want or kill anyone inside Adventurer Association while I'm here?" the mage elf said as he stared at Stragaber with no fear or any type of emotions in his eyes at all. "Or are you trying to say that you no longer acknowledge my authority?" asked the president in a gentle tone, trying to see the reaction on the huge man's face. "I don't give two shits about you your authority, Solomon. This man is a suspect of killing my men, so I'm here to take him in my custody and ask some questions," said Stragaber as he rebuked the president of Adventurer Association right in front of hundreds of people. "How dare you insult the president?" shouted Arkham as he put his hand on the sword that was hanging on his waist. his deadly killing aura erupting like a volcano and raising the temperature of the entire hall by few degrees. Then why isn't anyone from City Law Enforcement Hall or someone from Law Enforcer Squad here? Why is it only you va your team? Asked the elven mage. This question surprised everyone present in the hall as well. Why wasn't anyone from authority here to take Khan into custody if Stragaber only wanted the culprit of his brother Va-Men's murder found? Or could it be that you don't wish to investigate by the rules of the law Va, just beat a confession out of the man without having any proof? Asked the peasant as he revealed the other side of the coin. This made sense to many because adventurers didn't have any right to make any lawful arrests or take someone for custody under the name of investigation. Don't try to twist logic with me, President. I'm only here to see the criminal brought to justice. What's wrong with that? Asked Stragaber with contempt in his eyes. Not only was he enraged, but he also wanted to kill the murderer with his hand. But Solomon's reasoning brought his intentions to light in front of so many people. Is that so? Then how about Iva Arkham accompany you to Law Enforcement Hall then? We too want to see justice being brought to your people's murderer, said Solomon with a benign smile on his face. Khan, who was the main center of all the incidents, shuddered in fear as he saw the kind-looking elf mage smiling. Suddenly his survival instinct alarmed inside his mind, so much louder than when he faced Arkham or Stragaber today. His instincts telling him to run as far as he can. Behind that kind gentle smile was an aura of absolute power. Is this man beyond the Grandmaster level? Khan asked himself in puzzlement, because Solomon wasn't even releasing or directing his killing intent towards Khan at all. He was simply standing on the spot. Of all the people present here, only Khan, Stragaber va Arkham could notice and feel the pressure of this aura. Rest were simply too weak to even notice that Solomon was releasing his murderous intent at the moment with a righteous smile on his face. Solomon noticed the gaze of Khan and looked towards him with an approving smile. What does it have to do with you? Why are you interfering? Asked Stragaber furiously. Well, the incident happened yesterday. Your brother also had a fight inside this very place. So it does concern the association, as we don't want people to say that we did not cooperate with the authorities during the investigation, said Solomon as he stood against Khan. Young man, do you admit being guilty of any of his claims? Asked Solomon. However, he no longer exuded any sort of aura as he stood in front of Khan. No, I'm innocent, and I don't have any reason to kill his people either, said Khan as he folded his hands. Then come with us. We will accompany you to the Law Enforcement Hall. If you're innocent, I promise on my name that no one will harm you as long as I'm around, said Solomon with a benign expression as if he really cared about Khan being wrongly accused. All right, I'll follow you, said Khan as half the crowd walked out of Association Hall. Many officials, including Malcolm, walked with them, as they were the witnesses to yesterday's incident. After getting on various carriages owned by the association, many of which had different types of lizardish, horse-type monsters and steed pulling the carriages, all the involved parties left. Half an hour later, they all reached the Law Enforcement Hall, which was 2 times bigger than the Adventurer Association building, guarded by a garrison of soldiers and weapons placed at the walls. After Stragaber and his team entered and filed the case about the deaths of their men, the case was officially under investigation. Normally, it would take them a lot of time to even begin the investigation, but as soon as the officer saw the 3 strongest adventurers in the entire city in front of him, the matter was sent to the top-rank authorities and judges in just an hour. Soon, some official investigators started questioning all the involved parties in different rooms, including Khan, Malcolm, the Groundhog Adventurer team, and few witnesses. Khan blurted out his yesterday's routine except for the killing, as if he really didn't know what happened yesterday. To cross-check his story, Law Enforcement Hall sent few top-ranking soldiers to all the places he mentioned, including the city library where Khan spent his longest time. Khan, being the calculative guy he was, still kept the library pass as proof before he threw away his clothes after the murder. He even mentioned the color of his clothes, just not the ones he was wearing before the massacre. Elenev was brought for questioning as the only witness of Khan's evening to nighttime. Since Khan never looked like he had a fight or had any bruises or blood on him when he met Elenev in Black Griffin Merchant Enterprise, he too believed that Khan was innocent and answered everything he knew truthfully. Arkham va other people's testimony about Khan's performance as an excellent swordsman during the assessment test also came in Khan's favor, as the only weapon he was known to be excellent at using was a sword. Besides, one man killing dozens of experienced men by himself and not even receiving a scratch on his body was found laughable by many witnesses as well. The investigators also mentioned in their reports about injuries on the dead bodies, indicating that they were done by a monster with sharp teeth and incredibly strong claws, as some of the hard armor worn by the dead people was torn and had markings of the claws. As the sunset was finally on its way, the investigation was done efficiently. The verdict being nothing else than Khan being innocent of the crime, since the murder site and mutilated bodies hinted a group of wild monsters doing the killing than someone who was a human. As soon as the verdict came and Khan was found not guilty of any of the charges, the people from Adventurer Association celebrated in cheers. Because after their president backed up Khan and this incident happened on their grounds, the association also had a lot of its reputation at stake during the investigation. While the people of the Groundhog Adventurer team stormed out of the hall in rage, completely unhappy with the verdict, Khan finally let out a sigh of relief after being recused of all the charges. He thanked everyone from the association and also Elenev. The young merchant was shedding tears after the investigation was over. Khan thought that Elenev was a very sensitive person who was simply happy for Khan. Little did he know that Elenev was crying after looking at Khan's costly equipment and weapons he bought from the letter Elenev gave him this morning. How the hell am I going to explain this to father? He'll kill me if this got leaked to him, thought Elenev as he kept sobbing. Kid, if you have time, then come with us. The president wants to talk with you in his private quarters, said Arkham as they were going to depart. Khan bid farewell to Elenev and traveled with the crowd back to Association Building. After some time, Arkham took Khan to the president's private quarters. He entered after Arkham and saw the middle-aged elven mage staring outside the window, looking at the dark blanket which Sky covered the entire city with as the night had approached. Sit, he said. Khan simply sat down on a comfortable sofa with Arkham standing on the opposite one. I believe you understand why I asked you to meet me here, right? Asked Solomon as he gazed at Khan. Khan, however, had no bewildered expression on his face. He looked calm and composed without any worry. He simply poured himself some wine in a glass that was on the table, took a small sip and tasted the wine as he rested his back against the soft cushions. Khan gave a big smirk to both the old men in front of him and said, Yes, it was me. Old man Arkham stared at Khan with a bewildered expression. He did not believe that Khan was the actual culprit all along when they went to Law Enforcement Hall. He knew that Khan had a great talent for swordsmanship, but he was still far from being able to take out a dozen experienced adventurers by himself. And that too without even using a sword. May I ask why? Asked the elven mage Solomon. How do you treat someone who picks up a fight with you for no reason and sets up an ambush to kill you with dozens of people? Khan replied in a laid-back manner. I see. Then aren't you worried that we will tell this to anyone? Asked Solomon. If you wanted to, you already would have done it during the investigation. But I'm sure you didn't support me and took this matter to law enforcement just to protect the Adventurer Association's reputation. You want something in return, don't you? Responded Khan. He knew very well that a person of Solomon's position and authority wouldn't just interfere in a small matter between a newbie adventurer. He already sensed that there was a hidden motive behind the actions of the middle-aged mage. Quite smart for someone of your age, replied Solomon as he sat down on his throne-like chair. But first, show me how you managed to kill off so many people just by yourself, commended Solomon. Khan heaved a sigh as he spoke gently. Omega, come out, Khan said, and suddenly a giant black dire wolf leaped out of his shadow and stood in the center of the room. Arkham was caught off guard again. A contracted familiar? Asked Solomon with surprised eyes. Yes, I bet you sensed him when we were in the main hall. That's how you figured that it was me who killed those people, right? Asked Khan curiously. Ha ha ha. Yes, I did sense an external presence coming from you. We elves have a very high affinity to magic va natural energy after all. Solomon nodded. But I didn't expect it to be a contracted familiar. That's very rare, you know, said Solomon. This proved that Khan's hypothesis right. He had perfectly covered his tracks. Not even his footmarks were left at the crime scene. So the only way someone as strong as Solomon still having their doubts about it would be sensing the aura of his allies that were hiding in his shadow. "So exactly why am I here?" asked Khan as he wanted to get to the point quickly. "It's very pleasing to talk with smart people. You don't have to beat around the bush at all," laughed Solomon. But then his expression turned serious. "It's because of Stragaber. He's trying to become the next president of the Adventurer Association," he replied. Arkham, who also sat on the sofa placed on the opposite side, decided to speak in. "If it was through a proper election, we wouldn't be worried at all. But Stragaber doesn't want the position, but the power that comes with this position," said Arkham. "And what is that power you speak of?" asked Khan. "The power to control the city itself," replied Solomon solemnly. "How? Isn't this just an organization made for mandating adventurers? How can it make one have control over the city?" Khan asked curiously. "Let me tell you how," Solomon said and took a small breath. "Flavit City is surrounded by plenty of dungeons and borders the biggest forest in the world. Our city, despite being at the end of the Rocco's empire, actually holds vast resources. Let it be ingredients or raw materials you get from dungeons by hunting monsters or by hunting for monster cores in the forest. There is no shortage of resources and jobs that come because of them. The most sought-after profession in the city is being an adventurer. But thanks to our management for past 2 decades, anyone who isn't worthy won't get to become one. Because people die in this profession all the time and we don't want idiots to lose their lives in search of fame and glory," said Solomon. From there, Arkham continued. "Dungeons periodically spawn magical monsters and beasts. The adventurers go there to hunt for resources and make money, which also keeps the number of monsters in check. But sometimes there is a surge in their numbers. So many that even the military can't contain them all the time. If they break out of their dungeons, there will be a chaos enough to wipe out the entire city. And hence, they seek help from Adventurer Association. And because of that, the association also holds a lot of importance and authority within the city itself." Arkham finished his piece. "Stragaber sees this as nothing but an opportunity to make wealth and gain power. He has bribed many of our people, many influential military officials and nobles in the past few years. And if he is elected as the next president, he'll simply use the association for his own gains, make illegal dealings with the black market, and also have plenty of support in the city council. So you can imagine the power he'll hold over the city if that happens," Solomon said and finished the explanation. Khan was a grown-up man who had tons of experience in doing business and managing money in his previous life. He naturally understood what this entailed. Being the undeclared ruler of the city would grant you so much authority that even the officially elected people in charge of the city will have to bow to you. And let's not even mention the money va resources one will have at their disposal. Khan understood that Solomon va Arkham had the best intentions for the city, but he wasn't an idiot to blindly believe them either. "And what do you want me to do then?" asked Khan. Solomon va Arkham looked towards each other before nodding in unison. "Kill Stragaber's people one by one. Assassinate his connections in both association and the city council," said Solomon. "What?" Khan asked in disbelief. These old men wanted to hire him as a contracted killer? First, it was God of Darkness va Cravel who wanted him to kill the demon god, and now it was Solomon va Arkham who wanted him to kill Stragaber's people. Did he give some sort of Agent 47 from Hitman or John Wick type of impression that everyone who deals with him wanted to have Khan kill somebody? "Don't play the fool, kid. We did some research on you. You're extremely talented and experienced at killing people, and have great combat capabilities even without using a weapon. Plus you have this familiar as well. Rather than trusting someone who could be a spy planted by Stragaber in our circle, we'd have you do it. Besides, weren't you a mercenary before? Killing for money shouldn't be a new thing for you," said Solomon. "Why not do it yourself then? Besides, both of you are many times powerful and stronger than me. Wouldn't that save you a lot of trouble than trusting an outsider?" asked Khan as he shrugged his hands. To this, Arkham replied quickly, "Too many eyes on both of us. If any of us goes unrecorded and suddenly Stragaber's people go missing, all the suspicion will fall on us since the election is about to happen in just 1 month. If I hadn't personally seen your capabilities myself, we wouldn't even resort to this method. It was only a plan in the hatching before you showed up. All because you can take out so many people by yourself and have a monster that could divert the cause of the murders in a different direction. He replied in a stern tone. Arkham no longer looked like the kind man who praised him this morning and even came to Law Enforcement Hall to give his testimony to protect Khan. Now, he looked like a man who had his fair share of killings to reach the position he was at. Let's say that I accept your proposal. What's in it for me? And how do I know that you two won't bury me under the ground if I manage to finish the job? After all, a dead witness is no longer a liability, said Khan as he folded both his arms together and gazed at both the men in front of him. I believe even if we wanted to do that, we won't be able to. After all, the second presence I feel from you is no less weaker than me. Smirked Solomon as he pointed his finger at Khan. Clatter, clatter, clatter. The pottery and tables in the entire room started clattering as an extremely deathly and murderous aura was released from Khan's body. It filled the entire room with black smoke, and a sharp hiss full of dread echoed in the room. This aura and pressure were no lesser than what Khan had previously felt from Solomon. Khan knew what it was, because he had seen this black smoke and felt this deadly aura before, belonging to none other than his subordinate. It was Rudra. The gigantic basilisk was releasing his killing intent at Solomon like trying to challenge him for a death match. He was a mythical rank creature and finally found a good opponent to fight. See, that's why. I don't know what creature is hiding inside your shadow as your familiar, but I'm certain it is able to fight on even terms with me. Even Stragaber won't be able to kill you if you used that creature in a fight against him. That's why I decided to hire you for this job in the first place. I have no intentions of killing you or discarding you after the job is done. Why make enemies when you can make friends? Said Solomon in a sadistic evil tone. Khan thanked his previous life experiences at the moment, because both the men sitting in front of him weren't some saints and upright people who cared about law justice like their previous demeanor made them look like throughout the entire day. These were the real faces of both these elderly men. The elven mage looked no different than someone who'd kill anyone to hold his power and authority intact, and the elder man looked like someone who had bathed in a river of blood and grew numb to killings. If this was the gullible Elric of his past life, he would have believed that these men had a right cause and would have agreed to help them like some idiot main character of some Munchkin manga novel made for the teen audience where every elderly figure who helped the protagonist was a trustworthy kind old man for some reason. This was the reason why they helped to get his name cleared of the murder accusation. They just wanted to have Khan owe them a favor and reel him in their plan. Fine. But I have my conditions, said Khan, the businessman inside of him waking from a long slumber. I want all the resources you can provide me for the job. Your people will bring me the intel on the targets and I'll finish the job in any way I see fit. As for the remunerations, I want lots of high-grade monster cores, a lot of money and a small share in the bodies of rare monsters that have been hunted by adventurers brought to the Association for Selling Salvaging. If there are 5, then I want 1, said Khan as he put out the terms of their arrangement. Fine. We can manage that. But know that our deal is strictly based on what you deliver. If you fail in your tasks, then the deal is off, said Solomon with a calculative expression on his face. Khan responded in hurry again. And one more thing. Now what? Aren't we already giving you a lot? Arkham asked furiously. To his loud voice, Khan replied gently. I want your strongest fighters in every job. Let it be a swordsman, a mage, or an assassin to train me. What? Why do you want to do that? Aren't you a swordsman? Asked Arkham. Obviously. Is to understand all my targets. Stragaber's people the government officials you mentioned won't be some nobodies, right? I'll need to understand and know their weaknesses before I make a plan. Otherwise, not only would I fail the job, but I'll also lose my life. Then you can go and search around for another killer in whatever time you'll have by then. Khan said sarcastically. Sounds reasonable, but we don't have time to waste. I can only give you 1 week for your study of possible targets. And getting our top-ranked people in every job to train you will have to be done in secret as well. Otherwise, it'll raise unnecessary questions on why a newbie adventurer is receiving such favor," said Solomon as he found Khan's method reliable. He figured that he wasn't dealing with an amateur here. Khan asking to study his targets by increasing his own experience in their classes meant that the young man knew how to plan his assassinations. Just like how he didn't leave a single trace after killing Stragaber's brother Va-Men who came with him. "1 week is more than enough, but I need some advance first. I also need to know who will be providing me with intel and blueprints for these targets," Khan said in a serious tone. What followed for the next hour was an elaborated plan for how to take down Stragaber's men via his connections in the government strategically without raising suspicion towards them. Here, there are 10,000 gold dramas and 200 B rank monster cores. This should be enough for advance, and some of the monster cores are of very high quality. I don't know why you even need these other than just money. This is just 20%, you'll get the rest as you start your job after a week. You kill, we pay accordingly," said Solomon as he summoned a big pouch filled with gold coins and another with monster cores out of nowhere. There wasn't a spatial ring on him either. It was space magic. The elven mage was proficient in the rare space magic. This surprised Khan as another plan hatched in his mind. "Deal. Let's shake on it," said Khan as he shook both Solomon Va Arkham's hands as a form of agreeing to the deal. As the night fell, Khan finally left the Adventurer Association and went back the Black Griffin Merchant Enterprise again. He felt that it was the best place for him to stay and deepen his relationship with one of the most prominent merchants in the entire city. As he reached the Enterprise building gates, he stopped his steps and spoke. "You can let the president know that I won't betray or sell him out, so you lot better stop following me from now on, or there won't be a head left on your shoulders," Khan said as he released his war dominance aura, and suddenly 3 assassins fell out of dark shadows from the nearby buildings under this immense pressure. Why did Khan accept the contract to kill these people? Obviously, it was to create connections with people who actually held authority in the city, and gain access to resources in large amount and establish himself as a prominent figure so that many doors could be opened for him just because of the fame he would gain later. There was no point in playing the underdog as long as his secrets regarding being the chosen hero of God of Darkness was kept under the rug. He needed everything he can get and as soon as he could, and he had to do it all by himself. Khan continued and greeted Elenev in his office. After watching his sullen face, Khan got the gist of why the young merchant was unhappy. Khan threw the big pouch of coins in Elenev's desk. "I know I went a bit overboard, so this should be enough to minimize your losses, right? Consider the rest as repayment for saving your life," said Khan as he laid back on the sofa placed in the middle of the room. "Wait, how did you get so much money?" asked Elenev in a suspicious voice. "Nothing much. Sold some of the top-grade monster cores I had on me and took some advance for a big job I was offered," said Khan as he relaxed on the comfortable sofa. He kept the sword on the side and said, "When are we eating? I'm hungry." Elenev suddenly went from his dejected expression to overjoyed as soon as he received the pouch and started counting the coins. His experience told him it was at least 8 to 10,000 gold coins. "Don't misunderstand me, Khan. It's just that the price was too big for me to cover up," said Elenev as he explained. Yeah. No worries. There shouldn't be any secrets between friends, right?" Khan said as he gave a slight grin. Khan had already planned to deepen his relationship with the father-va-son duo as they could turn out useful in the future, so he had to start with the gullible son first. As he had dinner, Khan kept chatting about life experiences with Elenev. As Khan was once 25 years old too, he knew enough topics that could get Elenev's interest during their conversation. When Khan finally returned to his room again, he changed into night clothes and jumped into the bed. Khan rested on the cushion and commanded the system. "System.
Yeme Solomon va Arkham Statat."
Khan had shaken hands with both Solomon va Arkham for that very purpose. The system he had with him could only scan the body via their strength after making physical contact with the target. Following are the statistics for the individual named Arkham. Name: Arkham Holland. Species: human. Job: magic swordsman. Rank: Peak Grandmaster rank. Level 82. Strength 1370. Agility 930. Dexterity 1130. Defense 860. Mana 440. Following are the statistics on individual name Solomon. Name Solomon Elfenheim. Species Elf. Job Magician. Rank Semi-Saint rank. Level 85. Strength 320. Agility 670. Dexterity 1080. Defense 540. Mana 1850. Khan let out a surprised gasp. Semi-Saint rank? Means Solomon was close to breakthrough beyond the Grandmaster rank? The middle-aged elf was much stronger than he thought. Khan realized that he was treading in murky waters today. He was pretty sure Stragobor was no weaker than Arkham either. If these people wanted to kill him, he'd be dead before he could even react. If not for Rudra being present inside his shadow, he would not even walk out alive from Association Building had he chosen to refuse the contract from Solomon Va Arkham. Khan took out the top-grade monster cores and chomped down on them one by one as he was in dire need to raise his strength levels if he wanted to protect himself. Rudra was his hidden card, but he couldn't reveal him to anyone. Plus, there would be very few places where he could release the basilisk out of his shadow without causing massive destruction to the surrounding. From tomorrow, I'll perfect all of my combat skills and rank as much as I can. I can't be dependent on luck or some plot armor to always save me. Compared to these people, I'm still an ant, said Khan as he continued to eat up the cores. Power. I need more power. Morning arose and Khan woke up from his fulfilling slumber. Unlike his previous life, he didn't get any dreams about how his life would be different what kind of love life he wanted. Rather, he would dream about how he rose in strength and sit atop this entire world. Beneath no one, not even the gods. System, tell me my current stats. Khan commanded the system since he ate around 50 monster cores before falling asleep. Thanks to his ability absorption divine ability he chose before, all the cores he ate would be directly absorbed in his body without any wastage or adversely affecting his physique. As per the knowledge he gained from reading books in the city library, people in this world couldn't directly just swallow mana ores or monster cores to increase their physical or magical strength capacity. Even the most sensitive beings to magic such as elves and angels had to dilute the cores and magical elements in them first and then absorb them over a long time. Even absorbing a high-grade core would take them 2 to 3 weeks. That too if they barely took any breaks. And that is why very few people had incredibly stronger physiques or magical abilities, as gaining strength in this world needed a lot of resources as well as time. Elves lived around 500 years if they didn't get killed or died because of some disease, and angels lived up to 2,000 years. Even the most ancient dragons couldn't live past 4,000 to 5,000 years. The longer you lived and the more resources you had, the stronger you'll become. That's how the natural law of gaining strength worked here. Even amongst the chosen heroes, if nobody else picked the ability absorption divine ability as Khan did, then his ability to absorb these monster cores would be the highest among all the living creatures in this world. Naturally, many beings currently surpassed Khan by a huge margin, but Khan had far more potential than all of them. Host attributes and skills are as follows. Name, Khan Host. Species, human. Level 42. Strength, 164. Agility, 126. Dexterity, 122. Defense, 94. Mana, 252. Divine abilities, ability absorption, dimensional law synthesis. Blessings, war dominance, stage 1. Weapon mastery, master rank. Combat techniques mastery, master rank. Survival intent, stage 1. Berserk god mode, 5 times the physical strength. War deity body, stage 2. Gifts, all languages knowledge known to the war deity. Physical abilities, Ripper Claws, combination of Alpha Wolf's Claws and Blue Lion's Claws. Alpha Wolf's Howl. Side Hopper, combination of Sprinter and Long Stride. Hunter's Intent. Venom Acid. Poison Immunity. Grandmaster rank, Somir scale body, Executioner's gaze, magical skills, fireball, stealth. Note: some low-grade abilities and skills have been merged under high-grade ones the host currently possesses, while some have been discarded, as they no longer have any use to the host. 7 levels. Khan remembered being level 35 just yesterday. Eating 50 high-grade B rank cores raised his level by 7 levels. Even his strength had become nearly twice than before. Khan realized that as your levels rose, the attributes would raise by a big margin, more with each level. Like if his stats had 20 points after his level rose, the increase would be by 30 to 40 points instead of 20. As his level increases, so will the extra points he'd get. Good. This will make the training va my survival a bit easier, said Khan and went to take a bath. Khan left in a hurry in the early morning. Instead of going to Adventure Association, Khan went towards the north gate of the city. This part of the city was mainly known for its entertainment area, like how Earth had red light areas in the city known for pubs, bars va strip clubs. Khan went to one of the most crowded restaurants in this area called the Golden Crow. He waited on a table that was unoccupied as he drank some herbal tea. Unlike Earth, there was no such thing as coffee in Rocco's empire as per his current knowledge. But the majority of the population preferred herbal tea instead. Khan could feel the Asian aesthetics in the building architecture va cuisine. I wonder if any one of chosen heroes was an Asian from Earth who introduced his or her culture, and now residents of this world created a different one based on it. No complaints, though. This is perfect for the morning, Khan said as he sipped the aromatic tea bit by bit in a black clay cup. Just then, a slim figure under black cloak came towards Khan's table and sat next to him. "You're earlier than expected," said Khan as he glanced at the hooded figure. "I'm a professional. We don't delay our tasks. If you're done, let's leave quickly. I have a perfect place to train you," said the cloaked figure and finally took out his hood. Khan was a little bit surprised to see the person but didn't show it on his face. The person next to him was a snakekin. His body was completely similar to a snake and his hands and legs were covered in reptile-like skin. The greenish hue in the skin color gave this person an appearance similar to a forest snake. The person even had a tongue of a snake which came out of his mouth every 5th second. "Fine. Let's go. I'm in a hurry as well. We'll only get today to learn as much as I can," said Khan and followed after the snakekin. After half an hour, they reached a desolate area where the houses were basically empty va near to falling in the ground. This is one of the oldest parts of the entire city. It used to be one of the most important areas of the city a few decades ago before the war between different powers va gangs destroyed it as collateral damage. And nobody tried to rebuild it as well. So it became the best area for people in our line of work to practice our skills, explained the snakekin as he introduced Khan to their training grounds. "I want you to train me in 2 ways. One where you attack me with your assassin skills and techniques as I try to defend against them, and other where I make attempts on you using the skills you'll teach me. I want to understand both sides of the battle," said Khan. Already spoken like a true assassin. "Our job needs the understanding of the surrounding, our target, and their weaknesses. We don't do much damage even with high-grade weapons, but rather our hiding skills and that one final hit when we show ourselves takes all the work," said the snakekin. The snakekin was a professional assassin, and somehow Solomon had managed to have him train Khan after their yesterday's planning va agreement. Throughout their entire time during the training, the snakekin taught Khan how to adjust himself in the surroundings so well that not just the target but also anyone present around them wouldn't notice Khan or his presence at all. Since Khan had already acquired the stealth ability after killing one of the people that came with Ilya to kill him, he was already a step ahead compared to an amateur. By the end of the day, Khan, who already had the weapon mastery va combat techniques mastery blessings, had already raised his efficiency and also learned the ability called concealment. The snakekin was left awestruck after he saw Khan executing this ability to a level that exceeded normal level assassins who were in the profession for some time. Compared to them, Khan not only learned it in just 4 to 5 hours but also improved in it at a drastic pace. Unlike stealth ability, which lets the assassins become invisible for a short time, concealment ability helped one to merge in the surrounding area as if you were always a part of it. The Snakekin's expression was no different than Arkham's when he fought Khan during the assessment test and found his talent in swordsmanship. A prodigy. I found a prodigy. Why is this guy wasting his talent on swords? He can easily become one of the best assassins in the entire city with enough training and experience, thought the Snakekin as he regretted watching Khan go after their training. Khan was satisfied to see his weapon mastery for daggers reaching 45% at master rank and his stealth va concealment skills reaching 70% and 53% of master rank respectively. This was just one-day training, but he already reaped the benefits of an entire month's training because he learned from one of the top experts. Just like the fight with Arkham, Khan kept learning and perfecting his assassination skills by making critical attacks whenever he found the perfect chance, and his patience to wait for a perfect opportunity was very commendable as well. Now all he needed was to kill some assassins in real battle and absorb their abilities to create his new skills and raise the proficiency in the ones he already had. The upcoming week would be nothing but a golden fruit of knowledge. He'd get to eat and raise his skills and knowledge in all the fighting-related jobs and professions. Khan knew if not for the excuse he made for learning his targets va their weaknesses, Khan would never get to learn from true professionals like the Snakekin he met today. It was Solomon va Arkham pulling their connections and a huge amount of money to get these people to train him, all for the sake of keeping their current power va authority to themselves. Khan was sure that the Snakekin would straight away go to report about today's training to Solomon va Arkham as a way to keep an eye on him and his part in their deal. And so will the other trainers he'll meet in the upcoming days. But at the end of the day, it was Khan who was getting a big haul and benefited the most. Let's see who's using who, spoke Khan to himself and smirked as he looked forward towards the upcoming days. For the following days, Khan received training and combat experience from one of the most elite fighters in all different professions. Let it be archers or magicians, Khan not only learned a few of their core techniques and spells, he also excelled at them by a huge margin compared to others who would usually take months to reach that level. All his trainers left with their jaws dropping on the ground, every single one of them not believing the talent this young man had in their respective fields. And after 1 week of repeated training sessions, Khan was finally done in being proficient in them and reaching more than 50% mastery in these skills, spells va combat techniques. The current Khan would be able to use any weapon belonging to any class and different spells and combat techniques unique to these classes without any problem. This left a sour taste in all his trainers who thought he was wasting his God-gifted talent by focusing on swordsmanship instead. Few of them even offering him to become their disciple. But Khan refused all of them. The agreed date of the first week was over and the days of his hunting began from today. Khan was sipping some morning herbal tea inside the Golden Crow restaurant as by now, he too was addicted to this aromatic va soul-soothing tea. Today, he was going to receive a detailed report on all his targets, their routines and the best locations to carry out the assassinations as agreed during their initial planning. Khan was to get familiar with different professions and their weaknesses, and Solomon va Arkham's people were to gather more detailed and sure-shot intel on all of their potential targets. As Khan was basking in the delicious taste of the tea, a slim elven archer sat across the opposite side of the table. He didn't make any greetings and ordered some breakfast. Both he and Khan didn't speak a word to each other either. If anyone looked at them, they'd think that these two were nothing but strangers to each other. As the elven archer finished his breakfast, he suddenly took out a small book and passed it to Khan from under the table, completely hidden from everyone's eyes. The elf gave a slight nod and left the place in a hurry. Khan took the small book and placed it in his space ring. Soon, Khan left for the Adventurer Association, and after he finally reached there, he registered himself for the dungeon exploration list and paid a small fee for buying a dungeon pass. Unlike many novels va mangas he read in his previous life, the dungeons in Rocco's Empire were monitored by both the Adventurer Association va the military platoon stationed close to these dungeons in case of a monster tide occurred. They will be the first line of defense. The dungeon passes were used as permission to explore and also to keep a record of all the people entering the dungeons in case they went missing or needed reinforcement during life and death situations. It was also to stop the unregulated unrecorded flow of resources adventurers gained from these dungeons. Khan had 3 objectives for his dungeon visit today. The first was obviously to hunt monsters absorb their abilities. Second was to use this opportunity to increase his combat experience via improve his combat mastery using the different techniques he had learned in the past week. Third was to deliver upon his first target mentioned inside the small book. On his way to the closest dungeon, which was barely 5 kilometers away from the city, Khan went to a merchant shop and bought some smoke bombs and tear gas bombs. Normally, adventurers used it to hunt down groups of low-level monsters that traveled in groups. But Khan was going to use them for some other purpose. He also bought a black cloak to hide in the crowd and to avoid the eyes of fellow adventurers. When Khan finally reached the closest dungeon towards the city named the Brahmner Dungeon, he entered after showing his pass. Surprisingly, he wasn't the only one entering while wearing a black cloak. There were many individuals who did the same. Out of 10, at least 2 would be wearing black cloaks as far as Khan could see. Many trying to hide their identities. Good for me. This way, no one would be able to link me to the incident either, thought Khan as he entered the gigantic cave-like door to the dungeon that was filled with plenty of adventurers going in and out like ants gathering around sugar. Khan had placed his longsword inside the space ring and currently had a normal-looking bow on his back with a quiver full of arrows. He was entering the dungeon as an archer this time. After entering the first floor, Khan didn't waste time wandering around and asked a nearby adventurer about the directions towards the 9th floor. The first 2 floors were flooded with people, and only from the 3rd floor did the real battles begin. Khan kept descending the downstairs and walked nearly a few miles down the ground to finally reach the 9th floor door. As the floor level increased, the stronger monsters va creatures would one face. After the 7th floor, no one would dare venture further without a team of allies. So watching a lone archer going below the 7th floor surprised many, but it was still acceptable for them as there were always risk-takers. Here, you were responsible for your own life, and nobody would care if you lived or died in this place. Each floor in these dungeons covered the area of a big town having perimeters of around 6 to 8 kilometers on average. Here, many different monster species lived and hunted for resources, and so did the adventurers. To the residents of these dungeons, any outsider would be no different than food, so they attacked these adventurers at the first sight. The 9th floor was an area of crevices and withered trees. This floor was a hunting ground for many big adventurer teams, the residents of this floor being none other than kobolds. These monsters had very sensitive noses and hearing, so they were very hard to hunt in a group unless you had a bigger group of your own. Finally, I'm here. Now, where are those bastards? Spoke Khan to himself. He started looking around for groups of people. After walking for more than 10 minutes, Khan finally found a group of more than 20 adventurers full of mixed-race people and humans trying to fight off against a pack of kobolds. All these people had an emblem on their chest, the emblem indicating the adventurer team he had seen before. This was his first target as the book had provided him intel on the Groundhog Adventurer team. From the intel he received, the Groundhog Adventurer team had more than 400 members, Stragobor being their leader and his family who had a rich background funding the whole team. There were dozens of groups like the one before Khan, sent to dungeons to hunt for monsters, raw materials va monster cores and later be sold in the market. In other words, this group was no different than workers farming for resources and later give it all to their bosses. Khan maintained a kilometer distance from this group and activated his hunter intent skill, which let him gauge the strength of his targets about whether they were stronger than him or not. This ability also had a very long reach and was no different than a filter system for Khan. The strongest among them seems like between level 32 to 35. But the numbers are too big for me to hunt alone. Also, bringing all of their attention towards a single target won't be easy. If I want to kill them efficiently without any fail, I need to give them a big target. Khan thought to himself as a plan hatched in his mind. Khan ran amongst the withered trees and went far away from the Groundhog Adventurer team members. Since he lacked numbers, he would use outside help. Not only was he planning to overcome his disadvantage with numbers, he was going to use the oldest and yet most efficient battle strategy in the book. Khan let out an evil grin as he finalized his plan. Killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Continuous battles kept happening over different parts of the 9th dungeon floor. There was no sun or source of light inside the dungeon, but somehow, Khan could see a bright sky above his head. Naturally, this had something to do with the natural construction or magic formation that had formed the dungeon in the first place. The light outside of the dungeon was brought to each floor. The intensity was no different than normal sunlight outside of the dungeon. Khan kept running without causing too many noticeable noises through the withered tree lines. He had seen some group of kobolds, but they were either too big or too small than what he needed. Finally, he found a group of 18 kobolds who had just finished off killing an adventure team. Were looting out the remains, while some from the group started ripping off the flesh out of the dead bodies and chomping on the juicy bloody meat of these adventurers. Unlike werewolves, kobolds not only hunted with their claws jaws. They also used weapons like wooden spears / poles, swords, and bows. The majority even wore clothes that covered their private parts. Only a group of experienced adventurers with the same number as the kobolds could take them head-on. From what Khan saw, the group of adventurers that lay dead on the ground wasn't one of such teams. Not only did they lack numbers, but also their team composition was out of the norm. Too many physical class damage dealer class people, only 2 mages 1 archer in the group. This was nothing but a ragtag bunch of hot-headed morons who came to the dungeons thinking they could conquer the floor with their measly strength. Idiots. There are other ways to make money without dying. Why come here if you're not strong enough to protect yourself? Khan spoke to himself. Khan was already used to hunting wild monsters beasts in the forest he was thrown into by God of Darkness. So this wasn't his first rodeo. Khan silently kept walking towards the group of kobolds while hiding himself behind the tree branches bushes. The group was salvaging the gears meat from the dead adventurers. He knocked an arrow on his normal bow which he bought for cheap from a shop. He was around 300 meters from the group just in his bow's attack range. Aiming at one of the kobolds who was in a group of 3 and quickly shot an arrow. Swish! The arrow pierced the kobold's head, killing it instantly on the spot. His current weapon mastery for bows was only 59% at master rank, but it was still enough for him to make accurate precise attacks. As soon as the kobold fell on the ground, the remaining kobolds were alerted. Howl! The kobolds howled and alerted their subordinates. The whole group quickly getting their guard up and looking for the attacker. Time for the second arrow, said Khan and shot another arrow in the middle of the group. The first was to get their attention and the second was to let them know about his location. As soon as the kobolds sensed the direction of the incoming arrows, they charged towards Khan's location with all their weapons in their hands. Khan waited till the group could see him and started running in the direction he came from. For the next 20 minutes, the group of kobolds kept running after Khan as if all they wanted was his death. Khan occasionally shot out arrows and killed a couple of their subordinates to fume their anger even more. Running away from this group without getting caught was no big deal for Khan, who had both sprinter lunge ability which would always keep him one step ahead of the group. He also made sure that the group followed him without coming across any other group of kobolds or another adventurer team. Otherwise, it would foil his plans. Finally, when he reached around a kilometer away from the place where the group of 20-plus Groundhog adventurer team members were fighting, he raised his speed to the fullest and disappeared from the sight of these kobolds using side hopper ability. Khan saw the people of the Groundhog adventurer team were still at the same place. Their battle seemed to be over long ago and now they were just harvesting the kobolds for their cores, claws, and skin. Many of them simply resting while few keeping a lookout. Their losses seemed negligible while the kobold group was completely wiped out. Khan quickly ran back to the group of kobolds he brought along and shot arrows at them again, luring them in his direction as he ran towards the adventurer team. As soon as he reached 200 meters from the group, Khan used side hopper and disappeared again from their sight. From the dense bushes, he shouted very loudly, "There are kobolds! Everyone get ready to fight!" Khan quickly ran away from the place and hid among the tree branches. "Enemy attack!" shouted some of the team members of the adventurer team, and everyone was quickly alerted. They were all experienced people, so they quickly got into a formation ready to defend against an ambush. "Who was the guy that just shouted? Didn't feel like I heard that voice before," someone of the group softly asked. But just then, the group of kobolds finally reached close to the adventurers and by instinct, they charged at the defending side. Khan, who was now standing on a thick tree branch far away and watching the show side in relief. Finally, all the efforts are paying off. Nothing personal, guys. It's just business, said Khan as he relaxed his back against the tree trunk. What followed was another gory battle between the adventurers and kobolds, even far bloodier than the previous group these kobolds had killed. Thanks to their experience in working together, the adventurers defended themselves against this sudden attack, only suffering 2 casualties at the beginning of the battle. But the kobolds were no different than these adventurers. They hunted in packs, their disposition was made to hunt in a group. Their understanding teamwork far exceeded the opposition. Besides, they were far more vicious with their attacks and many were stronger than the adventurer team members. Skulls and bones were broken. Cut down, blood was sprayed on the ground as both sides ferociously fighting to kill their enemies. Khan, who was the cause of this all, was simply studying the battle strategies both sides were implying as time went on. His understanding of battle tactics increasing little by little. There was a reason why Khan chose to use the kobold group to pit against the groundhog adventurer team members. The primary reason being that he was simply lacking in numbers. And even though he was strong, he couldn't take down all these people even with Omega on his side. Releasing Rudra here was also not a good idea either. These weren't some mindless monsters but a group of experienced people who also knew how to quickly respond to sudden ambushes and adapt to the situation very quickly. Some could manage to run away to tell the tale, so that wasn't the best choice. The secondary reason is to avoid causing suspicion of an assassination attempt. Plenty of people died in the hands of kobolds on this floor, so it wouldn't be a surprise to see another group fall into these monsters. Soon, the battle came to an impasse. Both sides left with barely 6 to 7 members, rest going to eternal sleep while lying on the ground in their own blood and intestines. Both sides were constantly looking for an opportunity to attack while defending themselves. Khan, who saw this from the tree he was standing on, finally decided to interfere. He knew this would eventually happen, so he wasn't surprised at all. "Omega, come out," said Khan, and the dire wolf jumped out of his shadow. Khan took out the smoke tear gas bombs he bought with him and silently approached the battlefield. Since everyone was fighting for their lives, neither side noticed or sensed his presence. "The usual plan. Attack from the other side as soon as I throw the bombs," said Khan, and Omega nodded in response. Their teamwork was already on an expert level. Khan activated stealth and turned invisible. He silently walked behind the adventurer team and threw the smoke bombs and tear gas bombs in between the battlefield where the majority of the fighters were in a neck-to-neck battle. "What the hell? Who's that?" shouted a woman among the group as the smoke filled the battlefield. Khan activated his war dominance Ripper Claws and started the bloodbath. This time, he was hunting both people and monsters together. His pressure filled the entire place, making it hard to even breathe for everyone present on the scene. What followed was a one-sided massacre. Khan used Side Hopper from time to time, and each time he appeared, a body would fall on the ground as his Ripper Claws chopped their heads and torso in two. Khan had thrown the smoke bomb on the adventurer side while the tear gas bomb on Kobold's side to use it the most effectively on both opponents. Both sides were already weaker than him, and after putting them into a disarray, Khan Omega did not have any problems taking out all the enemies. With no chance to fight back, in just a few minutes, only a hooded man with a bow on his back and a giant black dire wolf, both of whom were completely drenched in blood, remained on the battlefield. Well, time to rob the dead. As the battle ended, a dreary scene of the blood flesh torn and splattered on the ground was revealed. The bowman and the dire wolf started to pillage the bodies of the dead without showing any hints of regret, as if they were completely numb to killing. Khan was no longer a man from Earth who would be disturbed by killing someone or try to use the pretense of moral code or right cause to not kill people when it suited him when it didn't. He wasn't a hypocrite who would try to justify his acts or look for reasoning before he had to kill someone. He had killed so many dangerous and vicious monsters in the forest that he was practically comparable to a veteran hunter who had experienced so much that the sight smell of the blood no longer bothered him. And after he absorbed the Mother Somer's core and also inherited its will, his disposition was no longer that of a normal human. He simply accepted that given different circumstances, both the people he just killed and the kobold monster he lured here to slaughter would not even bat an eye if they had a chance to kill him. Some would even torture him to death if the roles were switched. So there was no need to feel sorry for someone who wouldn't think too much about the value of life in the first place. Khan absorbed the abilities of all the dead bodies lying in front of him one by one and cut out cores from the monsters. As for the Groundhog Adventurers team members who were part of his contract, he simply took out their badges and put them in his space ring. He needed the proof of the kills to receive his pay. System, show me the list of abilities and skills I just gained just now, said Khan, and the system notified him with the list. The host has acquired the following new abilities VA skills: Water Spear, Knight's Taunt, Shield Bash, Wind Slash, Wind Blade, Headshot, Charged Arrow, Arrow Volley, Archer's Sight, Heal, Rank C, Protection Barrier, Debuff Dispel, Magic Sense, Templar's Charge, Templar's Will, Defense Fortitude, Shadow Strike, Lacerate, Backstab, Lockpick, Kobold's Howl, Pack Sense, Pack Hunting Buff. The system finally stopped after giving a list of abilities Khan had just acquired using his ability Absorption Divine ability. This cheered up Khan, as he was indeed lacking many abilities VA magical skills in his holster, majority till now being related to hunting monsters in the forest only. And out of them, only 2 to 3 were useful to the current Khan. So this was a pleasant surprise for him in a way. System, show me the list of useful abilities VA skills I can create using Synthesis Divine ability, said Khan, and waited for the system to reply. Host can create the following abilities VA skills with the ones currently the host possesses. The system then started giving him multiple and variety of skills he could create using the abilities he already had and gained just now, filling his head with all the information about the abilities with their effects and uses. Khan started processing all the information and decided to judge the usefulness of all the new merged abilities VA skills. He wasn't an idiot to combine them all for no reason. He wasn't even sure if there was a limit to the number of abilities VA skills he was allowed to merge together. And there was no point in creating the ones he won't be needing in the majority of scenarios, as they would simply rust inside the inventory, metaphorically. Also, these abilities would need time in practicing and maybe require him to absorb abilities and resources to upgrade VA improve them. That would be a waste of time as well. So the most sensible choice was to create abilities VA skills that could be extremely useful VA, had the potential to become one of his hidden cards. Among the list, he found 2 merged abilities that were also high-rank VA could be upgraded in the future. Mind Link, Rank B, upgradable, allows the host to create a soul connection to multiple subordinates and see their surrounding via a shared vision. The host can also command them telepathically to perform a task or an action. The current range of this ability is a 5-kilometer radius from the host's location. This ability was truly useful for Khan if he wanted to hunt, gather intel, or keep a lookout. His subordinates could warn him about an incoming enemy or an ambush. He could also send them to do some reconnaissance on the people or monsters he wanted to kill VA, even send them to places he couldn't reach or tell them to do something when he was under the public eye. Khan then moved to the second merged ability. Mind Transfer, Rank C, upgradable, allows the host to have full control of one subordinate and its body for 1 hour. However, the original body of the host will be put in stasis when the ability is activated. The first ability was simply too convenient for Khan, as he would be needing a lot of subordinates sooner or later. And in that case, having a deepened mind connection with them would allow him to carry a group battle more efficiently. The second merged ability was similar to the first, but unlike the former, it allowed him to completely control a subordinate for an hour. This too was useful if he wanted to not take any risks while doing something where he could die and just use a subordinate as a suicide bomber in case there was a chance to get caught. Khan was certain that he gained this ability from the group of kobolds, as they were indeed the type of monsters who spent their lives hunting in groups. So maybe this was some rare passive ability he accidentally gained. The adventurers also gave him plenty of useful abilities VA occupation exclusive skills, but Khan decided to experiment on them later when he had the time. Merge the skills. Khan commanded the system, and soon a familiar feeling of learning new abilities flew in this body, as if he had spent years on creating it. He quickly got familiarized with it in a minute. But because of these two newly merged abilities, Another door was opened for Khan, which made him rethink his choices. Khan then thought of a plan. He had to spend almost an hour and a half just to plan and kill these people using a group of kobolds to tire them out in a battle and whittle down their numbers. What if he had a similar task in the future and had to kill a group just like this one? Where will he find extra help when having a disadvantage in numbers? Things won't go in his favor at all. So there was no other option than to create a small army of his own. He didn't feel like leaving the dead bodies to let others know that these people died in a battle against kobolds anymore. Simply because there wasn't a need to leave them as proof. Missing people also counted as dead too. All the adventurers were above level 30 and some of the kobolds were even level 37. He won't find such a favorable situation again where everything went according to his plan and he successfully completed the kill list. Khan weighed the pros and cons in his mind and decided that it was a better choice to use the dead bodies that were lying in front of him to create new subordinates and even experiment on a few to create some different or even higher version of their species. He ordered Omega to not eat out the remains and started using synthesis divine ability on all different types of adventurers. To gain the maximum results, he used the high-grade monster cores during the synthesis process which were given to him by Solomon as an advance for the job. There were more coming into his pockets, so Khan found this as a worthy investment. And he wasn't a fool to randomly merge the bodies together. Khan chose the specimens based on their profession va their class, such as knights va templars under physical melee class and mages va conjurers in long-range magical class. In half an hour, Khan was done merging all the dead bodies together and gained 6 new subordinates. 6 figures who were wearing completely black clothes, armors and robes that were once part of the original bodies and now turned black, holding weapons of their respective classes and with some very noticeable changes happened to them. On top of that, since Khan used 2 to 3 high-grade monster cores during synthesis, all of these new subordinates had unlocked the evolution skill just like Omega Va Rudra had when they were created. A guardian knight, a rogue, an enchanter, a priest, a ranger Va, finally a berserker. All of these were the combination of 2 different job classes and had merged under the synthesis divine ability, so they also inherited the core abilities of both the classes with the unique abilities of their newly created class. Khan named these 6 as 6 generals, already having plans to make them incredibly stronger in the future if he had the opportunity. From now on your names are Blackwell, Ronan, Cyril, Armin, Oliver Va Jugram, said Khan as he named his new subordinates with creative names which fitted their classes and appearance respectively, instantly raising their loyalty towards him by 50%. And all of them were level 40 as both the original bodies were at least level 30. Khan then saw Omega looking at him with indignation as if he felt left out and forgotten. Khan gently patted the dire wolf's head and smiled. "Don't worry, I still have different plans for you," said Khan as he gazed at the bodies of the kobolds lying next to him. He let out a devilish smirk and spoke. "Let's see who we get next." Khan stared at the dead bodies of the kobold group. He lured here to fight against the adventurer group and killed them once the time came. Total 16 dead kobolds were lying on the ground. This was more than enough for him to create at least 8 new subordinates. But Khan didn't plan on having that many for now. He preferred quality over quantity. Besides, having same type of subordinates would only provide him with fodders than some unique subordinates as he had created till now. System. How much bloodline purity did I absorb from these kobolds? Asked Khan to the system as he knew the system stored in bloodlines through his ability absorption divine ability if the same type of monsters or any species was absorbed by Khan. The host currently has 120% of pure kobold bloodline. Enough to create a higher and many times stronger version of this species. And would the rank of that subordinate will be higher as well? Khan asked out of curiosity. Yes. The more specimens with the same bloodline the host uses for synthesis, the higher chances to create a higher version of that species. System. What's Omega's rank based on your database? Subordinate named Omega is currently of elite rank with the evolution skill unlocked. The system replied emotionlessly. What are the ranks for monsters va beasts in general? Khan asked as he never had this question pop up in his mind before. He only knew that Rudra was of mythical rank, a rank above the legendary rank. Following are the ranks for monsters va beast species. Common, elite, rare, unique, half-lord, lord, high lord, legendary, mythical, god beast. So what if I use 4 bodies va 5 high-grade monster cores during synthesis? Will the resultant subordinate be of an even higher version than the expected result? Khan asked in puzzlement because he still wasn't used to creating subordinates va understand all the capabilities of his synthesis divine ability even now. The resultant subordinate can only be of 1 rank higher va an upgraded version of their base bloodline. I see. Khan spoke to himself. He was being too greedy just now, so he had to keep his expectations in check. A higher rank result was already too much to ask for. Even a higher rank than that was simply impossible. But there was always a chance to merge that subordinate with others of the same rank va species to get another higher version. Just that he will need a purer bloodline va more dead bodies to experiment with va extra monster cores. You guys keep on a lookout. Don't let anyone come close to this area va disturb me. Khan commanded to his newly created 6 subordinates, the 6 generals. The 6 generals then dispersed in different directions. His newly acquired ability called Mind Link was a passive ability, so he would be linked to all these subordinates and could see through their eyes whenever he wanted. His sole connection with them would inform him about everything that was happening with subordinates without putting any strain on his brain either. Plus the range was 5 kilometers, so it was already very good for him to not be noticed by anyone who was far away. Khan was just being cautious. Khan chose 4 bodies of dead kobolds and 5 B-rank monster cores for the synthesis and put his hands and bare legs on all the bodies. "Merge!" said Khan as a black shadow was released from his hands and legs on each body, and the shadow engulfed them one by one. Soon all the 4 shadows started converging together, and finally the procedure to create a new subordinate started. Since there were more specimens involved, the procedure took longer than before. Does the host wishes to impart the pure bloodline to the subordinate being created? The system asked for his permission like it once did when he was creating Rudra, who now possessed 50% pure basilisk bloodline. Do it! Khan commanded without hesitation. After 10 minutes of forming different shapes and moves, the new subordinate was finally created. It was pitch-black kobold who was much taller and bigger than the rest of the kobolds that Khan had killed and used for synthesis. The fur was darker, claws were sharper. It stood on its 2 hind legs and 2 big fangs were coming out of its mouth. His appearance no different than a giant werewolf. System. Show me his stats. Following are the statistics for the subordinate. Name, unnamed. Species, high kobold. Evolution skill unlocked. Level can be upgraded through eating other monsters' va cores. And rank can be upgraded with higher va purer bloodlines of this same species. Rank, unique. Level 45. Strength, 160. Agility, 140. Dexterity, 60. Defense, 70. Mana, 90. Abilities, Burst Howl, Pack Leader, Sprinter, Lunge, Tearing Claws, Shadow Merge. Would host like to name this new subordinate? Wait. Khan looked at the stats va abilities. This new subordinate was indeed very strong compared to the dead kobolds va, even slightly stronger than 6 generals because it had the unique bloodline of kobold species. Khan didn't stop there. He simply repeated the same process for the remaining bodies. And after half an hour, finally stopping after he created 3 more subordinates. All of them being no different than the previous high kobold. Khan now finally understood the difference. Kobolds were actually higher and intellectual versions of wolves. No different than those wolfkin demi-humans he had seen before in Flavit City, and some of the adventurer groups he had seen also had such members. Just that the wolfkin were more evolved and sentient beings, while kobolds were primitive va more controlled by their base instincts. Even Omega, who was standing close to Khan, felt like he was looking at his long-distance relatives. He was certainly a much lower version of this species himself. Khan didn't stop here either. Since all of them had unlocked evolution skill, there was no point in standing on a ceremony. He divided these 4 into groups of 2 and repeated the synthesis. Khan used 10 B rank monster cores for each time and patiently created 2 more higher versions of kobold. System. Show me the stats. Following are the statistics for the subordinate. Name, unnamed. Species, Kabesu, variant kobold. Evolution skill unlocked. Level can be upgraded through eating other monsters' Va cores. And rank can be upgraded with higher Va purer bloodlines of this same species. Rank, Half-Lord. Level 50. Strength, 250. Agility, 190. Dexterity, 170. Defense, 150. Mana, 130. Abilities, Pack Commander, Domain Howl, Hunter's Sight, Long Stride, Pincer, Shadow Merge. Would host like to name this new subordinate? What the? Khan stood rooted on the spot, forgetting his speech. Because the new subordinate he just created was already stronger than Khan himself. Plus, the stats were also higher than him in strength and agility attributes. This guy was at least on Stragaber's level based on the aura va murderous intent it emitted. This subordinate would just make a perfect bodyguard for himself. Omega now felt even more dejected than before. His head was down as if he felt that he was no longer needed. He simply walked away from Khan and sat in a faraway corner in the tree line, slowly whimpering under his breath. Khan was overjoyed with the results and carried on to create another subordinate of the same rank. Another 30 minutes passed and Khan finally created another new subordinate of the same rank Va skills as the former. Khan still hadn't named any of his new subordinates after he named the 6 generals. He now had 2 subordinates on the same strength level as Stragaber, who once put immense pressure on Khan with his aura alone. System, can I upgrade them even more? Asked Khan, not being content with what he already had. No. The host no longer has any higher or purer version of this bloodline. The new subordinates can no longer evolve any more than their current state unless a higher bloodline which also has traces of the same bloodline is acquired and used for evolution. Replied the system. Khan found it logical since it was indeed a limitation of the bloodline, because he already had upgraded the newly created subordinates by 2 ranks just with the bloodline he acquired previously. No matter how pure it would still have an upper limit for an evolution. So if I want to use them for further evolution, will I need to mix them with another subordinate? Khan asked. Yes. But the subordinate must have traces of the same bloodline as the specimens and should be a variant version of its species to mix with this different bloodline. The system stated out the conditions for the next upgrade, because there won't be any different resultant species if they shared the same base bloodline. And to mix with another subordinate, that would require some traces of the same bloodline as well. Khan let out a chuckle as his mood lightened up, because there was indeed a subordinate who fit both the conditions at the same time. Khan then gazed at a certain subordinate who was resting near a tree with its head down, and a devilish smirk appeared on his face. Khan called out Omega, who was at this point sulking in a corner as he felt like he was no longer going to be useful to Khan. At the end of the day, Omega was only an elite rank monster who had very less intelligence compared to these Kabesu who were standing in front of Khan. He only knew how to follow orders. Even though they were stronger than Khan, none of these 2 subordinates were haughty or overbearing as Rudra. They didn't try to defy Khan's authority or taunt him in any way, because Rudra was a mythical rank creature and possessed 50% pure bloodline of a god beast, the basilisk. Although Khan didn't know much about god beasts even now since they were only stuff of the legends as far as he knew, he didn't try to look for more information about them as finding correct reliable sources wasn't in his priority list. At this point, Omega finally came and stood on Khan's left side. His expression looked of curiosity as he didn't understand what Khan had in his mind. System, how much it will take? According to the current level of species Va rank, it will take the host at least 100 B rank monster cores for this procedure. The system replied in its lifeless tone. Why that many? That's all I have left. Khan asked in surprise as the cost of this procedure alone took the number of monster cores he had used up till now. Khan 850C rank monster cores a week ago. Va now nearly used 50 cores for creating his 6 generals and then the kobolds. 30 of them being B rank monster cores, which were very high grade and hard to come even for Solomon, who was the president of Adventurers Association. Because what host wishes to create exceeds the current rank of subordinate in the procedure by many ranks. If the host does not use the required amount of monster cores, the result will create a new being who will not inherit any traits or memories of the chosen subordinate. The system explained. Khan thought for a minute and understood the reason. What he wanted to do was skip on at least 3 ranks of species evolution. So certainly it would require many cores for all the upgrades and mana for it to succeed. Since both the Kabesu were Half-Lord rank, Khan expected the result being of the same rank after the process was done. But he still had to make up for the difference in species rank using extra monster cores. Luckily, Khan hadn't used up all of his B-rank monster cores Solomon had given him as an advance for the contract. He had consumed only low-grade cores that night and barely used the high-grade ones till now. He wanted to save them for emergency or use it for any exchange later. So he indeed had more than 100 B-rank monster cores left on him. They were all he had left to be precise. But then Khan looked at the dire wolf who had expectant eyes looking at him. Khan vividly remembered the time when the first thing he ate in this world was hunted Va brought to him by Omega. The first day he entered the world of Vantria, he created this dire wolf using the pack of wolves who tried to hunt him and had nearly managed to kill him. Ever since then, he and Omega were no different than partners in crime. They hunted together and killed many dangerous monsters Va beasts, even killing the legendary Somer together, which led the way to Khan going from level 3 to level 30 in a single day. While Rudra was the strongest of the all-subordinates Khan had created until now, the giant variant Basilisk was still not completely loyal to him, nor did he submit to Khan even after they spent their time together. Omega, on the other hand, was with Khan since day one. He protected Khan when he was weak and defenseless, hunted and fought beside Khan like they were soldiers on a battlefield who would not think twice before sacrificing themselves to save their fellow soldier's life. That was true loyalty. "It's all worth it," spoke Khan and put one hand on Omega's head and ordered both the Kabesu to touch his right palm. "Merge," Khan commanded, and the synthesis process started as usual. All the monster cores Khan had on him were instantly absorbed by the shadow, and so were all 3 specimens. This time, the procedure was even more complicated, and there were sudden bursts of energy and ground-shaking pressure releasing within the shadow. Khan let out beads of sweat and focused all his attention Va energy into the synthesis. Unlike anything before, it took 4 hours for Khan to finally manage to complete the process. Boom! Boom! A sudden burst of energy and an extremely dreadful aura filled with bloodlust and tyranny exploded from the place Khan was carrying out the synthesis. A dark black and red cloud of energy was exuding in the 2 kilometers surrounding. The explosion could be heard on the entire 9th floor. Khan was thrown back 10 meters due to this explosion and barely managed to land on his feet just in time. A giant 10-meter-tall figure of a black creature which had the head of a wolf, broad shoulders and arms that were of the same height as Khan with claws as long as Khan's forearms. The giant figure stood on 2 legs, slightly slanting downward because of its hind legs that were just like wolves' Va kobolds. It had 2 long fangs coming out of its mouth which had numerous sharp teeth. The 2 fangs were about the same height as Khan's head. The giant wolf-like creature then let out a deafening roar and announced its presence to all the living souls present on the 9th floor. The roar alone causing sonic booms, and Khan's clothes fluttered in the air from the shockwaves. Khan looked at the glowing red eyes with the black iris of this giant creature and suddenly felt a sense of familiarity with it. The giant wolf creature then started walking towards Khan. Thud, 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 each of its steps causing loud stepping noises because of how big its build was. If anyone else other than Khan was present here, they'd faint under this immense pressure Va bloodlust that was being released by this giant monster. The wolf-like creature then knelt in front of Khan on its right knee, Va right fist on the ground while the other leg bent and left hand on its knee. Just like how a knight would kneel in front his king. Khan let out a visible smile and gently placed his palm on the head of the monster kneeling in front of him. "You've become very strong, Omega," said Khan in a happy voice as he felt genuine joy from watching the synthesis procedure being a success and Omega finally becoming extremely stronger than before. Just then, a hoarse and rustic voice reached to Khan's ears. "Thank you, Master." Khan's eyes widened with surprise. The voice belonged to no one but Omega. He could now speak after this evolution. Khan felt a bit of suspicion and commanded the system. "Tell me all of his stats and abilities." Khan commanded the system in his authoritative tone. "Following are the statistics for the subordinate. Name Omega. Species. Leakin, variant Fenrir. Subordinate has invoked a dormant bloodline belonging to a god beast, the Fenrir. Current bloodline purity, 20%. Evolution skill unlocked. Level can be upgraded through eating other monsters' Va cores. And rank can be upgraded with higher Va purer bloodlines of the same species or descendant species of other god beasts. Rank, Lord. Level, 55. Strength, 350. Agility, 270. Dexterity, 240. Defense, 200. Mana, 180. Active abilities Va skills. Shredder Claws. Gathers extremely destructive mana around subordinate's claws to execute long-range claw attack. Berserk. Gives the subordinate 2x physical and attack strength for a short time. Bloodline Boost. Chosen bloodline effects can be used for a certain amount of time. Bloodlust. Allows the subordinate to focus killing intent on a target and put it in a fearful state for 20 seconds. Tyrant's Roar. The subordinate's roar can disorient anyone except the host and fellow subordinates in a 200-meter radius. Shadow Swap. Subordinate can instantly travel to a location in sight containing a shadow. Shadow Merge. Allows subordinate to merge and hide under host's shadow. Passive innate skills. Leakin Tyrant. Allows the subordinate to command Va exert authority on any Lycos wolf-related species. Devourer. Allows the subordinate to absorb Va purify the bloodlines of other species. Metamorphosis. Allows the subordinate to shapeshift into a humanoid form. Regeneration. Allows the subordinate to constantly heal itself at a fast pace. After reading all the stats on Omega after the new upgrade, Khan was gobsmacked. This was beyond what he expected. He could only reply in surprise. What the bloody hell? Khan was completely out of his wits for the first time since he absorbed the Somir's core and inherited its will, which changed Khan's demeanor. He was able to always keep a calm mind even when facing someone like Stragobor. But now he could not believe his eyes. What he thought was a half-lord rank subordinate was actually a lord rank monster. It was beyond the results he expected. System. How did this happen? Khan asked the system because only it could explain the reason behind this result. System detects that the subordinate Omega already had 2% bloodline purity of the god beast named Fenrir. During the synthesis procedure, the determined will of the subordinate to become more useful to the host triggered this bloodline. Since Kabesu are also descendants of the Lyco species tree, the bloodline was activated to a higher degree and caused this transformation. My. To think that I would have someone who would be so loyal to me, Khan said and ruffled Omega's head. He was genuinely overjoyed for Omega. Now he understood why people treated their pets as part of the family. Because they too cared about their masters. System. How strong is Omega now compared to other people I've met? Khan questioned as he didn't know how to exactly decide tiers of strength, so he could only compare. Subordinate Omega is currently comparable to a beginner Grandmaster rank person in terms of strength Va attack capacity. Subordinate needs to raise its level to reach and utilize its full potential. I see. If Omega fights with Arkham, what are his winning chances? Subordinate has only 30% chance to defeat the individual named Arkham Holland, who is a peak Grandmaster rank magic swordsman. So they're really that strong. I guess I have no choice but to raise my levels quickly. I can't be at their mercy when the time comes. They won't uphold the end of their deal if I'm any weaker than both of them. Spoke Khan. He was no idiot. He currently lacked a lot of strength and skills compared to the truly strong people in Flavit City. All they needed to do was attack so quickly that Khan could not even react in time and he'd be dead on the spot. Even though Omega Va Rudra were his shields, there was no certainty that they'd always be able to help him either. At the end of the day, he had to rely on his own capabilities. Just then, Khan heard a warning in his head. The warning he received was through his connection with his other subordinates. The 6 generals. Through the mind link skill, Khan could see what was happening in front of these subordinates. He quickly switched sights and found that Oliver, the ranger subordinate, and Jugram, the berserker subordinate, saw people incoming towards their direction. Only now did Khan remember the massive burst of energy Omega let out when he was created and the roar he let was no different than an atom bomb explosion. So naturally, this was going to alert and bring the attention of a lot of people and monsters on this floor. All of you return quickly to me, and Omega, get in. We need to hide, said Khan, and ran amongst the dense tree lines and crevices. Soon, Khan met his subordinates along the way one by one, and they all merged inside his shadow. And Khan decided to hide for some time, away from prying eyes who were coming towards the place of the commotion. No one would pay attention to a lone archer in this situation. While running through the woods, Khan saw some adventurer groups but made no contact with them, as they were all heading towards something non-existent. At this point, he had reached the opposite side of the floor itself because of how clueless he was. The dungeon map he brought with him seemed to be somewhat inaccurate, which led him towards a valley full of kobolds instead. Thanks to his survival instinct, he quickly hid himself using concealment skill, which was an assassin's exclusive skill that allowed him to merge in the surrounding environment. Suddenly, his survival instinct alerted him again. But this time, it wasn't because of anyone directing any killing intent towards him, because there was a group of adventurers. Around 40 people were charging towards this kobold settlement. Many of them were well geared up and seemed to be in a proper formation. Assassins led the way while doing reconnaissance, and tanks va knights protecting the group in the front. Swordsmen behind the first defense line, the mages and healers in the group, while the archers protecting their back. This was a proper setup for a boss fight formation. These people were definitely going to fight a formidable monster boss. Could it be the floor boss? Khan asked himself. That would be the only explanation, because these were a lot of people for a normal group of kobolds. As soon as the group reached the nearest kobold group, they firmly launched their attack and decimated the first group with their impeccable timing and coordination. This was a well-established group with plenty of experienced people in it. Khan noticed that all of these people had a reddish insignia on their chest, and in that insignia was a lion head carved in the center. The Scarlet Lion Adventurer Team. Khan suddenly remembered the information he heard from one of the adventurers long ago. This was the Scarlet Lion Adventurer Team, the second biggest and strongest adventurer team in Flavit City. Khan kept watching the battle from the dark corners in the trees as a heart-thumping battle happened in front of his eyes. The timing, the coordination, and most importantly, the person in command managing the team formation and adjusting it from time to time for maximum effectiveness surprised Khan. He understood that the person in charge was a veteran and had hundreds of battles to reach such a level while commanding others. Wave after wave of kobolds died in a one-sided massacre, while the Scarlet Lion team members didn't lose a single person. The mages were accurately hitting the kobolds that managed to go past the first line of defense. More likely, they were allowed to breach the defense and entered through the small gaps, just to get roasted and cut down alive from the fire and wind magic attacks from the mages. Anyone who still managed to escape was finished off by the assassins va archers of the group. Khan was quite a calculative person himself, so he understood the strategy. The team commander was basically leading the enemy in a deathly trap one by one and whittling down their numbers without losing a single person under his command. The battle continued for half an hour, with the kobold side losing too many members and not even managing to take out a single member of the opposition. By now, more than 50 dead kobolds were lying on the ground. Just when Khan thought there was nothing left to see and decided to leave, a loud noise filled the entire valley. Howl! It's finally here. Everyone be on guard. Follow my orders. The team commander spoke loudly. Healers, put shields on knights va tanks. Mages, assist the swordsmen and assassins. Archers, be ready to release arrows when I command you to, shouted the group commander as everyone got in a defensive formation. Soon, from the end of the valley, walked in a giant silver kobold surrounded by at least 20 kobolds. Unlike all the kobolds that Khan had seen till now, this giant silver kobold was actually wearing gray armor on his chest. He walked on two legs just like Omega did, and surprisingly used a long-range spear that was in his hands. The spear itself looked like a very high-grade weapon by the looks of how well designed it was. It was definitely an extremely powerful weapon. You lot again? Have you forgotten what happened last time? Don't think about leaving out of here alive. Suddenly the silver kobold spoke and released his killing intent on the group of adventurers that were attacking his kin. Khan was surprised again. This silver kobold spoke even more cleanly than Omega did after his evolution. This monster was at least half-lord rank. "You monster! Don't think that you'll get away with killing my brother and my men. This time, I'll cut your head myself," shouted the commander of the group. "Looks like you have forgotten how you barely escaped from me last time. Well, thanks for bringing us more food." The silver kobold shouted and dashed towards the adventurer team. Following it, the group of kobolds also charged with fervor. And what looked like an impenetrable formation was quickly broken through by the silver kobold with just a few swings of its spear. This monster was just too strong. "This is a lost battle already," spoke Khan to himself as he noticed something that the adventurer group didn't. At this point, they weren't just facing the silver kobold and his crew from the front. Rather, they were actually surrounded by more than 30 enemies from both sides. And another group was also coming from their rear. The silver kobold didn't just come without preparations. Rather, it waited till the adventurer group was only focusing on the enemies that were coming from the front. The silver kobold allowed his kin to die just so it could surround them from all sides. Noticing this tactic, Khan could only praise in amazement. So ruthless, and so intelligent. Khan watched from the shadows as the Scarlet Lion Adventurers team was getting surrounded by the kobold groups from all sides. He almost felt bad for these people as they had a knife on their throats and they didn't even know it yet. Even if Khan were to interfere and help these people, there was very little he could do. He didn't have many long-range or area of effect OE skills that could even help in this situation. Not without revealing his cards such as Omega Va the 6 generals at least. His subordinate skill was something one would expect from a summoner, not an archer. It will become troublesome if the word of it got out because Khan decided to help these people. He could not afford to have any witnesses. Just as Khan expected, when the silver kobold ordered the surrounding henchmen to attack from all four sides, the formation broke in a matter of minutes. Many were unable to adapt to the onslaught coming from every direction and people started dying. The wolfkin from the group were torn piece by the kobolds as if there was some sort of long animosity between these two species. In just 10 minutes, there were barely any adventurers left alive. Khan, who was numb to killing, already felt sad for these people. They all performed very well till now. But things always don't go as you plan. "Ah!" A loud curl boomed in the surroundings as the adventurer team commander was torn into two by the silver kobold with its bare hands. There was an evil laugh on its face as they had almost finished up killing all these people. "Get away from me!" A shout was heard amongst the dead bodies. A young woman who seemed to be an archer by her gear and equipment was waving a dagger at the nearby kobolds and trying to create a distance. There was a big gash in her right thigh as a downpour of blood was leaking from it. She was barely able to walk. Tears running through her eyes as she was scared to death and somehow managing to muster her strength to fight back. Unlike the others, she didn't have the red emblem on her chest. She was a hired help for this quest. The redhead girl had lost a lot of blood and barely had any strength to fight against these monsters who were taunting and playing around with her. Khan, who was watching this from a long distance using his hunter intent, found this woman familiar. He had the eidetic memory from his previous life, so he never forgot faces Va things he saw once. "Ah shit," said Khan and quickly dashed towards the battlefield. Precisely towards the place the girl was fighting with whatever strength she had left in her body. Khan quickly shot few arrows towards the kobolds surrounding the girl and brought their attention towards him. Just then, a kobold jumped towards the girl and attacked with a spear to the girl's chest. Swoosh! Roar! A hand fell on the ground holding a spear. It was none other than the kobold's hand which just attacked the girl. The redhead girl was barely holding up and had fallen on the ground, was stunned as she saw a hooded figure holding a dagger in his hand. "You good?" asked Khan as he glanced at the girl who was of the same age as him. "You! What are you doing here?" The girl spoke. Her voice was seemingly very sharp yet pleasing to the ears. "I was passing by and noticed the noises, just to see you close to death's door," said Khan and let out a small chuckle. The nearby kobolds started attacking Khan in groups and from different directions. Khan swung his daggers and started defending against the attacks while piercing the vital organs of these enemies. His weapon mastery with daggers was already above 60%, and this was just a walk in the park for him. "Run away! Leave me here or you'll die!" shouted the girl as she remembered what the guy in front did for her not just 10 days ago. "You better get some sleep. I'll handle this," said Khan and activated war dominance. Shirk. A tangible pressure was exerted in the 30-meter radius surrounding Khan's location, and all the nearby kobolds who were attacking Khan froze on the spot. The redhead girl was already on the verge of fainting, lost her consciousness under the pressure, and fainted before she could say anything. Khan walked to her and quickly took out the medium-grade recovery potion from his space ring and put it in the girl's mouth. "Blackwell! Ronan! Armin!" shouted Khan, and 3 black figures came out of his shadows.
The Guardian Knight, The Rogue và The Priest.
3 of the 6 generals he created. "Protect her and keep healing her," said Khan as he handed over another bottle of recovery potion to Armin, the priest. The silver kobold, who had started paying attention towards them after finishing off the team commander, was surprised to see that there were still people left. But when Khan released his war dominance aura, he felt an immense threat from the hooded archer. Khan started walking towards this group of nearly 50 kobolds and the giant silver kobold. "Omega!" Khan shouted, and the newly evolved Leakin jumped from his shadow and stood in the center of the battlefield, his figure towering even the silver kobold. "I leave him to you," said Khan, and Omega let out a deafening roar again, instantly stunning all the nearby enemies. But to Khan's surprise, not only the kobolds nearby but also all the enemies standing far away started falling on the ground one by one, unable to stand up and looking at Omega with horrified eyes. Omega was using his Leakin Tyrant passive skill, which let him control and exert his dominance over all Lycos-related species. Even the silver kobold was struggling to stand properly on its feet. "You! Who are you?" asked the silver kobold to Omega, who was walking towards it. "You do not need to know," said Omega in response, and ran towards the silver kobold, a red aura gathering on his human arm-sized claws, and letting out a wave of claw-shaped blades of destructive attack as he swung his hand at the silver kobold. The silver kobold replied with a swing of his high-grade spear and attacked as well. Bang! A loud noise of metal clanging was heard, and dust flew from the position of the clash. But unlike what one would expect, this wasn't going to be a long fight, because as the dust cloud dispersed, a bleeding giant figure of the silver kobold lying on the ground was revealed with a broken spear in its hand and nearly shredded armor it was wearing. Shredder Claws. That was one of Omega's attack skills he acquired after the evolution. Before the kobold could get up, Omega stomped on its chest and put it in the ground again, rendering it unable to move. Khan, who was unaffected, led out his remaining 6 generals and walked towards the silver kobold. "Finish them off," he commanded the subordinates. The silver kobold was already an arrow at the end of its turn, barely managing to breathe under Omega's giant feet. Khan didn't want to waste any more time. He simply stabbed the silver kobold's throat and killed it off. "Leave no one alive," ordered Khan to Omega, and the Leakin ran off to kill the surrounding kobolds. Khan then put on his hands on its lifeless body. "Absorb," said Khan, and activated his ability Absorption Divine Ability. In 3 minutes, the system told Khan that the absorption was complete. Khan didn't decide to eat its core. It was more useful to Omega than him, as the Leakin could absorb its bloodline and rare abilities by eating the body and the core. Soon, Omega came back with his claws full of blood. He then started eating the silver kobold by tearing its limbs and chomping on the meat. He started by ripping its heart open first, which also had its core. Khan then started to absorb the abilities of the dead adventurers who partook in the battle and died in the end. He wasn't an idiot to let this opportunity go. In nearly 10 minutes, the 6 generals had finished off all the remaining kobolds and brought their bodies closer to Khan. System, can the 6 generals also eat the cores and raise their levels? And will they get any abilities if they ate the adventurers that belong to the classes I used while creating them? asked Khan to the system. He wanted to use this opportunity to raise the strength of his army. Yes. The subordinates, who are the combination of different classes, will also increase their proficiency in the skills by eating the bodies and cores of these specimen who possessed one of the same job/class the subordinates were created with. Good, said Khan as he ordered all the subordinates to have their hearty meals and eat the adventurers belonging to the same classes they were created with, and told them to equip themselves with the armors and weapons these people were wearing. As for the remaining kobolds and their cores, Khan decided to leave them to his subordinates to eat up and raise their levels. He wasn't in a mood to do it by himself. Khan finally walked towards the unconscious redhead girl, whose wounds had nearly healed off because of the recovery potion and healing from Armin. Khan's subordinates cleared off the battlefield by eating the bodies and robbing the equipment. Cyril, the enchanter subordinate, brought Khan the space ring the team commander was wearing. Khan simply put it in his pocket. He lifted the girl in his arms and decided to leave the dungeon. After Khan reached the Flavit city again, he took the girl to a proper clinic. The healer there was an old elven woman who informed Khan that the girl was out of danger. Khan stayed beside the girl for some time and was relaxing. Just then, the redhead girl opened her eyes as he was finally awake after nearly half a day. She saw Khan was sitting on a chair next to her bed and almost dozing off because of tiredness. She gathered whatever strength she had and finally spoke to Khan. "Thank you for saving my life. Again. Hello everyone. This is the author of the novel Crimson Wolf author. First, I would like to thank all the people who decided to read up all the chapters till this point. This is my first work in the writing sector and your support means a lot to me. I'm a complete newbie in this field, so there were a lot of improvements I had to do over and over since the first chapter was released nearly 45 days ago. I wanted to start writing this novel for more than a year now and finally decided to write the first chapter on a sleepless night. And I felt like I finally heard my calling. I would like to formally apologize to many old readers who have supported the series since it started, and they had to go through my messed up writing va editing skills such as using uppercase alphabets on nouns and pronouns that didn't need it. Also crappy names for the skills and not to mention the unnecessary details while explaining the plot's va thought processes of many of the characters. I've spent the entire day to delete, re-edit, and correct all these mistakes that were done till this point. Some story plots have been removed or reworked so new readers won't have to go through the same horrendous experience. I also admit that since I was new to this field, I didn't have the story organized or had a storyboard created to create a proper plot arc. Some of the chapters and characters have indeed diverted from the original plans I had. But now everything will be put back on track in the next few chapters and no more going in a different direction with plots and characters. I intend to finish the first story arc under 80 chapters, so now there won't be any useless story plots that do not serve the purpose to the main story. There is a lot of potential and many arcs I wish to write for this series regardless of whether it gets famous or not. Because as the series is improving with more chapters, so am I. For the first time in the past 6 years, I feel like I'm doing something meaningful and I've noticed few improvements in myself not only as a writer but also as a person. The world setting of Vantria is soon going to change at a drastic pace as soon as the first arc is over, and you'll finally see the vastness in the story I had originally planned. There are tons of characters I want to introduce with their proper background. The first arc will not even be the tip of the iceberg compared to what I have in mind. So I hope you guys stick around till the point where Khan travels from one empire to another, facing enemies and strong creatures by his own, meeting other heroes of the other gods, creating his own undefeatable army and acquiring enough strength to fight against the demon god one day. So expect a well-organized and fast-paced ride from here on. And also, I'd like to inform you all that the series has been officially exclusively contracted to web novel and will go premium soon. So see you around and never hesitate to leave your advice and criticism in chapter comments. I do read and reply to them when I can. And please do vote with Power Stones time to time so that this novel could reach more people if you think it deserves a chance. Over and out. Khan looked at the redhead girl in front of him and let out a small chuckle as he noticed a red tinge on the girl's face. Well, I seem to have a habit of saving you whenever you are close to death. But don't count on it or you'll end up dying at this rate. Khan said and gave a small grin. By the way, what were you doing with the Scarlet Lion Adventurer team? Weren't you part of another team? Khan asked as he remembered the details of that day very accurately. The group disbanded after that incident. Marcus took out all the remaining funds we had and gave them to the families of all of our dead comrades. And nobody felt like carrying on any longer. We lost a lot of good people that day. People who were no different than family," said the girl as sadness welled up in her heart and her tone turned heavy. "I see. But why were you in the dungeon then?" asked Khan curiously. "I needed the money. I have already spent all the money I had and needed work. So I joined the expedition when they were hiring. It wasn't like it was my first time going in a dungeon. Just that those bastards never told us that we were going to hunt for the floor boss." The girl sighed. "Only if I knew, I wouldn't have joined no matter what," said the redhead and laid back on the bed, her exhaustion kicking in again. "I understand. Well, I hope I won't have to save you again from another ambush anytime soon. Take rest. I need to go now," said Khan and decided to leave. "Hey, you haven't even told me your name yet," said the redhead. "I'm Khan. No last name," said Khan as he replied. "Jessica Artwinger," said the redhead girl. "The next time you decide to do something dangerous, I'll kill you myself," said Khan and laughed off. "Ha ha ha. Yeah, right. I don't think I'll continue this business anymore either," said Jessica as she chuckled in response. "See you around," said Khan and left the clinic. He had already paid for her, so they'll take care of Jessica till she recovers. This was probably the first good deed Khan had done ever since he came to this world. "Khan, huh?" spoke Jessica to herself as an expression full of gratitude appeared on her face. Khan went into a dark alley and after walking across numerous blocks and various streets, he finally stopped in front of a small bar in the corner of a small street. There was only a bartender and two more people. One appeared to be a customer and one another seemed to be the guard. Khan took his hood out and sat on the counter. "The sun brightens up my day," said Khan. "But the night soothes my soul," replied the bartender. This was a code word in between those who came to do peculiar business at this bar. Suddenly, the bartender signaled both the customer and the guard. All three people left the bar and Khan was sitting alone at the counter. Suddenly, Khan felt a slight tinge on his back and gave a small smile. "Still carrying the training, I see," said Khan and looked towards his back. A slim, hooded figure suddenly appeared out of nowhere. The masked figure was someone Khan knew. "I see that you're improving as well. I would have been disappointed if you didn't notice me," said the figure and sat on the chair next to Khan. It was none other than the Snakekin who trained Khan with assassin skills. Khan took a small pouch full of badges he took after killing the Groundhog Adventure team members in the dungeon. "The first batch," said Khan as he pushed the pouch towards the assassin. In return, the Snakekin took out a big pouch full of monster cores and then even a bigger one full of gold coins. "How did you take out so many?" asked the Snakekin as he was astonished after watching pouch full badges. Khan simply told him how he lured the kobold group towards the adventurer team and let them kill each other, and finished the remaining ones when they were exhausted from the battle by taking them out using the smoke bombs. He left the part about Omega, of course. The Snakekin clapped in approval of Khan's method. Khan shoved the bag full of coins back to the assassin. "Huh, what's the meaning of this?" the Snakekin asked curiously. "That's for a job I have for you. I want a list of all the criminals that are roaming free because of lack of evidence against them. Also, make another list of corrupted government officials, military officers who have dark history and nobles who have committed heinous acts such as our *P, murders, extortion but are still free because of their connections. This is a separate deal between us and not part of the contract," said Khan in a stern tone. "Why do you need that?" asked the Snakekin. "That's my business. You don't need to worry. I want the list by tomorrow evening. Keep this a secret from everyone if you're truly a professional. I want a very detailed report. Consider all this money as your payment," said Khan and bid farewell to the assassin. The Snakekin held the big pouch of coins. There was a lot of money in it. Definitely far more worth than what one would offer for intel in their line of work. Khan returned to Black Griffin Merchant Enterprise. By this time, he was already familiar with a lot of people here, and many of the staff also knew him as a friend of their young master, and the one who saved their owner's life a while ago. Khan met with both Nikola Va-Elenev and then joined them for dinner. Unlike some country bumpkin, Khan would have a lot of meaningful conversations with both of them, as he too had a lot of expertise in business and money management in his previous life. So he would always lead suggestive conversations and then come up with answers himself. Both the father and son duo were very impressed with his knowledge of ideas, so they felt like he was wasting his time being an adventurer. Khan would come up with excuses like he learned that all from his deceased friend Pavel, who was good at accounts. Obviously, there was no Pavel, it was just a made-up persona he created for his fake background. Khan then came back to his room and took a long bath. There was a lot of bloodshed he went through today, so he felt like he had to do a proper cleaning. As Khan laid in his bed, he ordered the system to give him the list of abilities va skills he acquired today. The host has acquired the following abilities: Frost Spike, Water Blade, Fire Burst, Root Bind, Wind Blast, Lightning Bolt, Mana Burst, Bullseye, Arrow Explosion, Multiple Targets, Silence, Shadow Shift, Knight's Taunt, Defense Buff, Sword Edge, Parry, Sword Deflect, Mana Recovery, C rank, Health Recovery, D rank, Rage Burst, Cleave, War Cry. The system gave Khan a long list, and also the ones he previously acquired from the Groundhog Adventurer team. System, show me the merged skills and prioritize on the ones that can help me infiltrate any place without being noticed, and also the ones that can cause a high long-range damage, said Khan, as he was already aware of what he needed the most now. The system then gave Khan a list of merged abilities as per his specification. Khan took a look at the list and started sorting the ones he'd actually use and could be integrated into his combat techniques and attack that could be added in his holster. This time, Khan only found 3 useful skills. Wind Cutter, a result of Wind Blade, a mage spell, and Sword Edge, a swordsman skill which released small destructive mana during the attack. The merged skill compressed high-pressure wind and released it during swings for 8-meter distance. This was useful for Khan when he used a sword. Shadow Walk, a combination of silence, an archer skill that prevented making noise while reconnaissance va Shadow Shift, an assassin skill that let the user submerge themselves in shadow. The resultant merged skill let Khan travel through shadows without making any noise or getting noticed by anyone. Firestorm, combination of Wind Blast and Fire Burst, both being AoE mage spells. The merged skill allowed Khan to attack a giant fireball that would explode on impact for 10 meters. The maximum range being 30 meters from his location. This was a very destructive and large area covering spell. Khan would find it useful while dealing with a large mob of enemies. Merge them, commanded Khan. System, what abilities did I get from Silver Kobold? The host has acquired the following abilities from the Silver Kobold: Kobold General, Conqueror Roar, Spear Thrust, Sweep Swing, Pack Attack Buff. The host has absorbed 5% Fenrir Bloodline Purity. So much for a floor boss. Impart the 5% Bloodline Purity to Omega, said Khan, and opened the small book he got this morning, which included the names of all his targets as per the contract. As for the intel Khan ordered the Snakekin to gather was for something else. Because soon, Khan was going to wreak a havoc in the entire city. Khan woke up the next morning. His body had recovered from yesterday's exhaustion and was good to go for another hunt. He knew that he had to become self-dependent quickly and earn a lot of money on his own without relying on anyone else. Khan opened the space ring that once belonged to the team commander of the Scarlet Lion team, which died yesterday. Soon, the news of their Va Groundhog Adventurer team would spread among the circle. No way a lot of experienced people Va well-renounced adventurers going missing would stay under the radar. It was bound to cause a commotion. As Khan opened the space ring, he was left stunned. Unlike his poor space ring, which barely had 3-meter inner space, the ring in his had a total of 50 meters of space. Big enough to be compared with a small warehouse. As he checked the internal space, he found tons of bodies of rare monsters, weapons, and materials such as potions, rare herbs, traps for setting an ambush, ores used for forging weapons, and even high-grade monster cores. Khan was out of words. Because as far as he knew, This wasn't just some personal space ring. Rather, it was used to store all the hunted monsters and materials a large team would get after wiping out hordes of monsters or even clearing an entire dungeon floor. It would cost far more than just 5,000 gold dramas. Maybe even 50,000 or more than that. Khan took out the monster cores from his payment yesterday night and the cores he got from the space ring. As he tallied up all of them, he was shivering. With excitement. Jackpot! Khan shouted with joy. Because there were more than 500 high-grade cores. Around 200 being B rank while 30 A rank cores. The rest were mostly C rank and below. Khan had lucked out and received a fortune. Forget the ton of money he'd get from selling all the resources in the space ring, the monster cores were what he needed the most. Because even if he had tons of abilities va skills, he still lacked the physical strength to fight stronger opponents by himself. Relying on his subordinates was a poor choice for the future, so he always wanted to be strong by himself. This pleasant surprise shook Khan and an evil grin appeared on his face. He started eating out all the Ava B rank monster cores one by one voraciously and almost choked on them twice. His entire morning went eating and absorbing these free cores, and finally after the afternoon arrived, he was done with his feast. His level arose quite a few times, but he didn't bother counting it. System. Show me my new stats. Khan commanded excitedly, ready to see his new levels. Host attributes and skills are as follows. Name, Khan Host. Species, human. Level 53. Strength, 286. Agility, 243. Dexterity, 248. Defense, 211. Mana, 385. Bloodlines acquired. Basilisk, 50% purity. Fenrir, 5% purity. Author. I'm skipping on abilities va magical skills because that list alone will take half the chapter. Also, no need of mentioning the blessings anymore as those who read the chapters till now would already be familiar with them. I'll only mention them when they're needed for explanation or Khan activates them. 11 levels. He raised his strength by 11 levels in just one morning because of all the cores. The majority of his increase was thanks to the cores he found in the space ring. Khan knew that gathering that many cores alone would take a year or so because they'd need to hunt down too many monsters and raid dungeons. Khan had benefited from someone else's hard work. As for the other resources Khan found in the space ring, he hatched a simple yet efficient plan. Khan then departed for Nicola's office, which was on the highest floor of the building. "Are you free for some time?" Khan asked after knocking on the door. "Oh, it's you. What is it?" asked Nicola, who was doing his daily tasks as the president of this giant merchant enterprise. "I wanted to ask if I could sell you some of the stuff I harvested from the dungeons. I'd rather sell them to you than Adventurer Association since you also sell them in your shops," said Khan, was he asked in a gentle tone. "Sure, why not? But do mind you, it has to be in a large quantity or there's no point. We don't do chummy change deals like a few small quantity herbs and ores. It has to be big enough," said Nicola. He was simply being honest with Khan as small trade was done in small pawn shops, not in a business enterprise. Khan nodded and let out a small chuckle. "Will this much do?" said Khan and emptied half the contents of the new space ring on the open space inside the office. Thud. Clang. Things after things. Materials after materials started piling up on the empty space, and half of the office was full of rare herbs, monster bodies, and metal ores. Nicola was flabbergasted and almost was paralyzed on the spot. "You! Where did you get all these? It's no different than what we deal in an entire week," Nicola exclaimed in surprise. "No point in hiding from you, so I'll tell you the truth. I hunted half of these while the other half came from the people who died in the dungeon, and I robbed them of their belongings and whatever materials they had on their space rings," said Khan and sat on the chair next to Nicola's table. "So what do you think? Big enough to make a deal? I only want the price you generally give to any of your traders or suppliers. You can make off the extra profit by selling these in your store's va weapon shops. Not a bad deal, right?" said Khan as he suggested the old merchant to go with his proposal. Nicola's eyes flickered and a greedy look appeared on his face. What Khan offered was indeed a very good deal for him. "Deal," said Nicola and nodded in agreement. "I'll only need some time to calculate all of these products and their cost. Don't worry, I'll give you a fair price," said Nicola. "Okay then, I'll trust you on that. But remember, there's more coming. So you better not rob me off, old man," Khan said and laughed. If you can bring more materials via resources like these, then I'll often make these deals with you," said Nicola. He was a merchant at the end of the day. He knew what kind of deal was profitable for him and what kind of people he should make deals with. His impression of Khan was very good since the time he had come to know him, so he indeed found Khan to be a trustworthy person. "I'll come back in the evening. Give me the money then. I'm going to dungeons again and will bring more materials soon," said Khan and bid his farewell to the old merchant. As for why he decided to sell these materials to Nicola and not keep them to himself, because he wasn't an idiot. Many of the contents of the space ring were high-quality resources and someone from the Scarlet Lion Adventurers team would definitely look for them. Khan would be keeping a ticking bomb in his pockets if he kept all that with him. So he displayed half of it to Nicola, as showing all of them would even scare the old man and he'd ask too many questions about the origin of the materials. Plus, Nicola and his Black Griffin Merchant Enterprise was the best place for Khan to sell, as he knew that the old man who was grateful to Khan for saving his life certainly won't cheat his savior. And most importantly, since they did business in all sectors, Nicola would easily distribute the materials in various shops owned by them. This way, nothing would lead back to Khan and no one from the Scarlet Lion team would guess that their fortune was being sold legally, and not on the black market either. Khan decided that it was time he tested his new strength and improved his skills and weapon mastery. Also, this was the best way he could use to explain how he got all those materials while raising his subordinates' levels and ability ranks. Khan went to the Adventurer Association again and bought another dungeon pass. This time, he went in as an assassin. He had a clear goal now. Forget the lame low-tier mobs. Khan was extremely disappointed in the Silver Kobold floor boss. What he needed now was high-grade monster cores, lots of high-rank rare skills. Khan knew that he no longer had to play the small game if he wanted to gain strength, fame, money, and authority. From now on, everything he'd do should make it to the headlines and become the talk of the city. Because being an underdog would never help him the way he wanted in his path of power domination. Forget being the underdog. He was going to become a goddamn tyrant. Khan stood before the Bromner dungeon again. It was the same dungeon where he killed the first batch of people from his contract, hunted kobolds, created new subordinates, and evolved Omega into a Leakin. Unlike yesterday, Khan did his research properly this time. He gathered information available in the Adventure Association about all the dungeons in near 50 kilometers of Flavit City, such as the total floor levels, dungeon bosses, and what kind of monsters laid in those dungeons. The Bromner dungeon had a total of 15 floors as per the records he found in the archives. The records on Dungeon Boss were no longer available as the last team which made it to the final floor was nearly 28 years ago, and no other team managed to go past the 14th floor despite having hundreds of people in their teams. If it was anyone else, they'd find it an impossible task to accomplish because nobody would be able to fight for that long and would eventually get exhausted. Plus, the monsters were more dangerous with each increasing floor. But unlike anyone that came before Khan, none had the divine ability called the Synthesis, which would not only help him merge different skills, but create new subordinates and even evolve them further with time. Khan knew that he couldn't do it alone even if he was as strong as Arkham or Solomon, so he was going to use his divine abilities to his advantage. As Khan entered the dungeon again under the disguise of an assassin, he headed straight for the 10th floor. After he killed the 9th floor boss, the Silver Kobold, it'd take 15 days for it to respawn, so there was no point in hunting on this floor. And Khan's strength was already higher than when he came here yesterday. As soon as Khan reached the 10th floor, he used concealment and started looking for a good hiding place. Even though there were a lot lesser people here compared to other floors, it was still better to be cautious than being sorry. The 10th floor was completely different from the previous floor. The whole setting for this place was like a maze and walls made of stone slabs. If he walked in one direction, he would never know if he'd find a way out. "Ronan! Jugram! Oliver!" shouted Khan and the rogue. Berserker Va Ranger subordinates jumped out from his shadow. You two go left and we'll take the right. If you find two more ways, then split up. Khan commanded as he and Oliver took the right path while Ronin Va Jugram took the left one. Since Khan had the mind link ability he got from synthesis which allowed him to share the vision with his subordinates, he was going to use it to save time and search for the right path. He and Oliver treaded from various turns and junctions in the maze but still failed to find a way out. Just then, he saw a path from Ronin's sight which led them out of the maze. Khan decided to go to Ronin's location with his other subordinates. For the next half an hour, he kept searching and running through this enormous maze. Va even came across many traps. Since Oliver was a ranger who possessed skills specifically made from setting Va defusing traps, he was spared of the unnecessary hassle of falling victim to these traps, Va wasting time to get past them. Just an hour later, Khan had escaped from the maze because of his shared vision through Mind Link and then saw a giant cave-like entrance in front of him. Har! Khan could hear plenty of shrills coming from inside the entrance. He quickly activated Shadow Walk and mixed inside the dark shadows of this entrance and started traveling inside. He knew what to expect from this floor, so he wasn't surprised when he saw its inhabitants. The nymphs. These were the cold-blooded insect-like creatures that were completely white and crawled on three legs that had sharp and strong pointy hooves, no different than metal pikes and spear tips. A sharp set of teeth that dropped gooey yellow liquid from the mouth. From what he read, these creatures fed on blood and flesh to live. They would even do cannibalism if it ensured their survival. Their insect-like appearance and the way crawled would instantly scare the crap out of any girl that was afraid of insects and larvae. The creatures had no eyes, their senses detecting everything based on heat signature. If not for Shadow Walk, which completely hid his presence in shadows, Khan knew he'd have been found and swarmed by these monsters. As Khan kept walking towards many groups while completely hiding his presence, he finally reached the end of the floor and found a large space infested with these monsters. More than 200 nymphs were crawling on top of each other and bringing small pieces of meat and whatever that seemed edible. In the middle of the swarm of crawling monsters stood a giant nymph which had 8 legs, its tummy no smaller than the size of a full-grown elephant and had long spikes for teeth. The 15-meter-tall giant nymph was the floor boss. If not for the Shadow Walk, I would not even reach this deep without fighting hundreds of these nymphs. Khan spoke to himself with a complicated expression on his face as he looked at the surrounding. The numbers of total nymphs were close to 400. More than enough to wipe out a party of 50 to 80 veteran fighters. Just entering the inner parts of this cave alone was a difficult part, and half the people would die in the process. How do I kill it? Khan questioned as he started thinking of a strategy to take out this giant monster. They follow the heat signatures, right? Khan remembered and planned his next move. Khan quickly returned towards the midway of the cave and found a vacant space to hide. After he came out of the shadows, he waited till the nearby nymphs detected his presence. And just as he expected, the nearby group of the crawlers shrieked and charged at him in hordes in a matter of seconds. Firestorm! Khan shouted and shot the AoE destructive spell from his palm in the middle of this horde. Boom! The cave shook after this loud explosion that occupied 10 meters space and burnt the nymphs alive. And because of this, all the other nymphs started gathering to his location. As the group got even bigger in just 20 seconds, Khan shot another firestorm spell, activated Shadow Walk again and disappeared. Khan quickly traveled to the boss's location. All of you, come out! Khan commanded, and all of his subordinates except Rudra came out of his shadow since this was an enclosed space. The nymph boss had senses far keener than the others, so it quickly sensed the approaching group of enemies and let out a loud cry, ordering its minions to come back. Omega attacked with his shredder claws, and the 6 generals assisted Omega with their respective skills. The small nymph army that Khan had distracted would be there in just a minute, so they had a very small window. Cyril, the enchanter, possessed mage skills as well, so he threw fire spells at the nymph boss that agitated it and caused a lot of damage. Blackwell being the tank with his skills like taunt and defense wall, while Omega being the main damage dealer who kept jumping around and attacked from time to time, which injured Va distracted the floor boss again and again. In other words, the subordinates were simply bullying the floor boss with their numbers. However, Khan, The main perpetrator of this attack was nowhere to be seen. As the floor boss kept fighting with its pole like long and sharp hooves and fended off against multiple attacks from various directions, a small shadow crawled under its feet. Kachak. Just then, a long white blade impaled the giant nymph from under its belly. A humanoid figure holding a long sword and using all his force to split apart the floor boss with all his might. "Not enough!" shouted Khan as his blade was stuck inside the belly of this giant nymph. "Hold them off!" commanded Khan to his subordinates to block the incoming horde of monsters. Khan let go of the sword and jumped on the back of the nymph. He put both his hands on what appeared to be its head. A jet of greenish liquid appeared from his hands and sprayed on the head of the nymph and started melting its skin as it seeped inside the body. Venom acid. Khan finally used the venom acid ability he gained by absorbing the body of legendary Somir. This acid was so lethal and acidic in nature that it could even melt solid boulders. Let alone skin of a monster. Shriek! The monster shrieked in agony. The venom acid had destroyed its nervous system and the nymph had lost the ability to control its body. Khan quickly took out the daggers he had in his space ring and plunged them in the giant nymph's head. Thud! The nymph let out another loud shriek and dropped on the ground. The floor boss finally died. Khan grabbed his sword again and prepared to fight off against the incoming nymph horde. But just then, the minion nymphs started falling on the ground one by one as if their souls were sucked out of their bodies. Khan, who had mind link ability, quickly understood what was happening. All these minions were mentally dependent Va connected to the floor boss, and died as soon as the link was severed after the boss was killed by Khan. Phew! Khan was prepared for a long and arduous battle, but luckily, that didn't happen. He let out a small sigh and spoke with a devilish smile. "Not a bad start, eh? Let's create my own army." Khan ordered the subordinates to gather the dead bodies close to his location as he put his hands on the dead nymph floor boss. After 5 minutes, he was finally done. "Show me the new abilities Va skills," ordered Khan. The host has acquired the following abilities Va skills. Hive Link, a rank, allows the user to completely control and share mind connection with underlings or something created by the user. Current range, 200 meters. Heat Sense, B rank, allows the user to detect the surrounding environment accurately based on body/heat temperature. Current range, 40 meters. Sonar Command, allows the user to communicate with its subjects through high-frequency noises. Extension, allows the user to create and eject high-density pikes from their body and even shoot them for a short distance. User can also retract them based on their will. Nymph Bloodline Absorbed. Current bloodline purity, 28%. "Not bad," said Khan as he let out a satisfied smile. This floor boss gave Khan a lot of beneficial abilities Va skills. Hive Link was extremely useful because till now, Khan could only command his subordinates by giving orders verbally, and at best, he could share their vision. But this new ability will allow him to establish a direct mind link with his subordinates and order them as per his will. Extension would basically give him inborn knives, which he could also shoot at high speed in close distance. In other words, he'd never actually be without a weapon. It was just like Wolverine, who had his claws in his forearms. System, show me the abilities that can be merged. The system gave a new list of abilities and Khan was jumping in joy after he saw the possible skill list. Hive Mind A rank, upgradable. A combination of Mind Link Va Hive Link, which allows the host to establish the perfect mental and soul connection with the subordinates. The host can share sight, feel, and communicate with the subordinates and telepathically control them at his will. Applicable to all the subordinates, and there is no limit on the number of subordinates host can control at the same time. However, it will put a mental strain on the host when used on more than 10 subordinates at the same time. Thermal Radar, B rank, upgradable. A combination of hunter intent and heat sense that allows the user to examine the surrounding and the targets based on body temperature, heat signatures, and their physical state. Current range, 100 meters. "Eureka!" shouted Khan and started laughing off like a maniac. These two merged skills were just too good for him. One was like a necromancer commanding his army of undead creatures. It will drastically improve Khan and his team coordination when he fought alongside his subordinates in large group battles. While the other one was no different than his own Witcher sense, which could help him gauge his surrounding examine or track things based on heat signatures. Extremely useful in dark places where his sight was limited, and also to track many things by the trail they left behind. Khan then cut down the core out of Floor Boss's heart and put it in his space ring. He looked at the bodies of the Floor Boss and its minions. System, can I directly merge a dead body with one of the subordinates? Asked Khan as he was having a few doubts. No. To initiate the synthesis with an already created subordinates, the host must use another subordinate which has unlocked the evolution skills. The system replied in its lifeless tone. Damn. Even the cheat abilities are not foolproof, huh? Said Khan. Well, I gotta spend some monster cores then. Even after this demerit, there was still a loophole in this condition. Khan could simply create a new subordinate, get it to the level of the dead nymph floor boss, which was a unique rank monster, and then merge the bodies of the two to create another subordinate. Khan didn't waste any time and started using the dead minion nymphs to create new subordinates one after another and merged them using synthesis divine ability. Finally, when he got a unique rank result, he merged it with the dead body of the floor boss. What Khan received was another giant nymph at unique rank, which was bigger and stronger than the former. But he simply didn't like the result because the thing was just too big and had many restrictions on its movements. Thankfully, it had unlocked evolution skill because Khan used 10B rank monster cores. Just then, Khan had another idea. He looked at the 6 generals that were standing closer to the dead bodies of the minions. Who would suit the best for merging together? Khan asked himself as he ruled out Omega, who possessed the godbeast Fenrir bloodline, which he couldn't afford to waste by mixing with another lower-level bloodline. Based on the use and the skills the result subordinate had, Khan decided on Oliver, the ranger subordinate out of the 6 generals. Mainly because Oliver was a long-range attack class who also had unique skills related to sensing and setting traps, plus could do long-distance reconnaissance because of his sensing skills. This merging would definitely highlight the previous skills, while granting new ones such as heat sense could make Oliver a specialized subordinate just for this task. Also, he'd inherit the Hive Link skill, so it was a good investment for the future. This could also allow him to shoot pikes like arrows from his hands or use them with a bow. He'd be an archer with an infinite number of arrows to be precise. Khan ruled out Ronin because he was a close combat class and would not benefit much from this merging. Merge! Khan commanded the system to initiate the synthesis process and merge them. The host needs 50B rank monster cores to create a stable subordinate, which inherits the memory of subordinate Oliver and possesses the skills of both the specimen. Why don't you rob a bank? Do you think these cores grow on trees? Khan said with an irritated expression. The system was asking for too much with each evolution under the name of merging different species. It was becoming greedy with each day. Khan found himself lucky that Rudra Va Omega had their relevant species available while he created them. Otherwise, they'd cost too many cores just like this. Take it, Khan said dejectedly and began the procedure. In 21 minutes, Oliver was evolved into a new kind of subordinate. His appearance no longer looking like a human, but rather a heteromorphic monster which was partly humanoid and partly monster. Oliver's new appearance differentiated from his original appearance in many ways. Now he had 6 long pike-like legs coming from his back, his legs having multiple spikes on them, and his height close to 4 meters in height than his previous 1.7 meter. The face and head no longer belonged to a human but a skinny and bony skull that would give young children nightmares in their sleep. Thankfully, he still retained his eyes. But most importantly, Oliver was now a half-lord rank monster, with a variant species named Bertor, and had unlocked evolution skill. Khan didn't expect this result but accepted it, as there were going to be many of such experiments in the future. He started creating new subordinates without naming them, simply to make up for the numbers and save monster cores. In just 2 hours, he finally stopped after creating around 50 new subordinates which were stronger and bigger than the nymph minions. From now on, all of those I created just now will be part of a small group which will grow in the future with new subordinates. From now on, all of you are one Va the same, and I shall call you the Legion. said Khan as he folded his hands together. Plays historical background music. The day was coming to an end and the night was on its way. Khan returned to the city and visited the same bar like he did yesterday. After speaking the code, Khan met the Snakekin again. Have you brought what I asked you? Yes. I gathered all the known incidents, both official and unofficial ones, and many that were buried under the rocks in the past 5 years. I divided them into 3 different books. One for normal criminals like murderers, rap*st, thieves va bandits. Second for the nobles and their relatives who abused their name va family backgrounds to kill, massacre, and even abduct women and children for their sick fetishes and torturing. The third one has influential people in government va military, including high-ranking soldiers, lieutenants, and even law enforcement officials like lawyers and judges who have abused their position and authority for personal gain and did favors to rake in money. The Snakekin spoke and sighed in regret. I had to spend most of the money you gave me yesterday and pull in a lot of connections, you know. This was far riskier than any other intel gathering job I've ever done. If I was caught, I'd be hanged publicly by tomorrow evening, said the assassin as he remembered how he played with fire today because the information was too sensitive and had many influential figures involved in the list. Great job. I didn't expect any less from you, said Khan and pulled out another bag of gold coins. Consider this as your reward for extra efforts you made. And tell President Solomon that I'll be delivering the heads in much higher numbers very soon, said Khan as he smirked. Kid, you're not into some kind of warrior of justice bullshit, right? Asked the Snakekin with a cautious expression on his face. Well, you'll see soon. Khan grinned and left the bar. The sunrise came and the next day started with a pleasant morning. But unlike the usual cheerful times where people started their day off, the Flavit city was currently in chaos and more people kept gathering around various squares and parts of the city in groups. What shook the entire city was dozens of bodies impaled on the walls, one in each street. Rather than the dead bodies, what scared the people the most were the words written on the walls using the very blood of these people. Every sinner shall pay for their crimes, for the judgment is nigh. Khan yawned as he finally opened his eyes after a decent sleep. He quickly freshened up and went to the canteen for breakfast as he woke up a little late than his usual time. Khan heard whispers amongst the people that were sitting on tables in groups, many speaking so quietly that one could not even make out any words. However, this wasn't the case for Khan, who had incredible hearing senses. So did you hear? All the dead bodies belonged to criminals who had records of violent acts but were never arrested due to lack of evidence. I say this guy is doing good work, said a young man in his 20s. Good my ass. That's just another serial killer on the loose acting like he's some kind of hero. I say soon he'll start killing innocent citizens as well. The city security should find him as soon as they can, said another long-haired man in disagreement. Guys, don't forget how swiftly all of them were killed. Not a single one of them even saw it coming and died on the spot with those hard spear-like things. Some say those belong to dungeon monsters, said another member of the group who seemed to be shook and scared. What are you worried about? Didn't it say that only sinners will face the judgment? Tell us, what crimes did you do? Said the second guy and taunted his friend. Khan then focused on the gossips amongst the crowd and found that almost everyone in the city was now aware of the situation. Security guards and law enforcement authorities were also searching for the killer. Khan ate his breakfast indifferently as if this sensational news didn't bother him at all. He soon returned to his room and took out a book from his space ring. It was one of the books the Snakekin assassin had given him. He opened the book and read the contents again. A true professional indeed, said Khan as he praised in amazement. Khan took a pen that was on the study table in his room and crossed out 12 names on the list. What the book contained was nothing else than the names, addresses, habits, known routines, and places these people visited on regular basis. The names of the people Khan just crossed were none other than the dead people that were killed and impaled on the walls of the streets of Flavit City. And as for the killer who committed these acts of wanton murders, it was none other than Khan himself. Yesterday night, as soon as Khan received the intel from the Snakekin assassin, he was shocked by how detailed the report was. and after reading the names and areas where these people usually lived, Khan decided to use the dark night to his advantage and decided to finish off these people which had many humans va demi-humans. Khan used Shadow Walk and Extension to finish off the targets without getting noticed by anyone. Not a single one of them was a saint. Some had killed, some had *d women va even young girls under 18 years, and some even killed the victims after they did the crime. But all of these people were declared innocent due to lack of evidence and witnesses. In some cases, the witnesses disappeared overnight before the hearing itself. The first book was completely filled with this information. Every page had one of such individuals and all the details on them. Khan's blood boiled after reading the list of these criminals and how they were roaming free, and who knows how many more innocent lives were ruined or taken by these monsters. At the end of the day, Khan was part of human civilization where human rights and equality were stressed upon. Fair justice was practiced no matter which part of society you came from. But in this new world he was living in, it was only in name. You can get away with anything as long as you have money, authority, and background to make these things go away. Just like the saying went. The biggest sin of the weak was allowing themselves to stay weak. The Elric of previous life would have been enraged and would go on a killing spree with his current strength and abilities, but the Khan of this life was a completely different person than the previous him. He was no different than these killers himself. He killed for achieving his goals, like the monsters he hunted in the forest, like the bandits he killed to save the merchant caravan and get out of the forest, or the Groundhog Adventurer team he killed without flinching because they were part of his contract. This was a world where law va justice didn't apply to you as long as you held power and authority. It was a world where the strong preyed on the weak. Khan purely acted based on self-preservation. He didn't trust a single soul in this world other than himself. And thanks to the Somirs will he inherited, which changed his personality and demeanor to some degree. He would not be swayed by his emotions and act rashly. He didn't mindlessly kill, but he also didn't mind killing anyone who stood in his way. The reason why he chose to put up a display of justice, Va wrote those words with blood on the walls, was to send a message to the entire city. To create a foundation of his new persona he was going to introduce. Khan went to meet Nicola as soon as the office hours were up. "So how much did I earn?" asked Khan to the old man about his earnings from the materials and things he sold yesterday. "Take a look yourself," said the old man, and tossed a high-grade space ring to Khan. "That's for all the materials you gave me yesterday. The list was quite big, so it took some time. This is the most reasonable price I can give you. And by the way, the ring is on the house," said the old man and chuckled. As soon as Khan checked the contents of the new space ring, his jaw almost hit the floor and eyes popped out in surprise. 60,000. It's 60,000 gold dramas, shouted Khan in surprise as he couldn't believe his eyes. Khan originally expected 15 to 20,000 gold coins at best. Now he felt like he greatly undermined the value of the fortune he acquired that day. This transaction now made Khan filthy rich compared to many adventurers. "Keep them coming and I'll pay you more next time," said the old merchant as he rubbed his hands together like a fly. Yeah. It'll take me some time to gather more, but you can look forward to it. By the way, do you have a detailed city map? I don't know much about the city and many of its areas, so I often get lost," Khan said as he rubbed his hair sheepishly. "Oh, I do have one just here," said Nicola, and took out a large folded map from a nearby wooden shelf. "Thanks. I'm going off to the dungeon again. I'll see you at dinner," said Khan, and left the office. As for why he needed the detailed city map, it was to plan his assassinations and targets the most efficient way he could, as the locality, crowd, and desolate corners played a big part in it from Khan's experience he had yesterday night. Khan simply asked for directions of the places and found his targets one by one, and this took him the entire morning. With a map, he could create a list of his next targets and properly plan his assassinations. Today, Khan didn't go outside the merchant enterprise and spent his entire day studying the book and the intel in it, along with the small book which consisted of the list of his contract targets. He had to incorporate them together so that no one would connect the dots about all the killings being specifically targeted towards Stragobor and his people. His plan was simple. In the midst of chaos, there is also opportunity. As the night fell, Khan left his room through the window using Shadow Walk and traveled through the city from one location to another without being noticed by anyone. Tonight, half of the city was under surveillance because of yesterday's incident, and many shops and restaurants were closed off earlier. People were afraid and the authorities were taking him seriously. The next morning, the scene was even wilder chaotic than yesterday, because as soon as the sunlight fell, people found a total of 14 bodies of humans, demi-humans and some soldiers impaled on the walls of the city in different locations, with words written using blood just like yesterday. No sinner shall go unpunished no more. For I am the judge, the jury and the executioner. I am Azrael, the angel of death.